Morning, DB. Coffin Baugh and Spitz are medalists on this day. AJC leans at the tape. Hi-oh. Little Bills Ravens today. We'll get into it. I agree with you.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floormeister Studios. Floormeisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you on this Thursday. We are over the hump. We are beginning to see the games from here. How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton? MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Thanks so much for being with us. Hope your week is going well. Top of the morning to you, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing all right, David. Had a good night last night. Good day yesterday. Was given a lot of pressure yesterday. My wife threw a bunch of stuff at me, and I had plans. And I had to basically try to live two lives yesterday so that I could do what I wanted to do. And that was play golf.
Right.
While my wife works her tail off. But she started texting during the show yesterday. Hey, you got to pick up the daughter early. She's got a test. She's really messed up. She's bothered by it. She's got to study. She's got to get to bed early. All of these things. And I'm like, okay, it's Wednesday. I'm playing golf today. How early can I get her? But you don't really come back to the wife with, honey, I've got a 12:10 tea time while you're busy at work. How are we going to get this done?
Exactly. Honey, I'm 2 over through 12. Is this important?
So I brought mom into the fold. You know, mom picked up the daughter, got the daughter all studying. The daughter had no desire to study. That was a treat.
Wait a minute. That's not what you were told. You were told that the daughter's freaking out over the test and she needs to study and prepare for it.
Well, her freak out to mom is a little different to dad, in which she tries to play off everything's okay. And we had a study session last night, and boy, did she love studying with dad. I tell you what, the grades will continue to be at a level that they are as long as she never has to do that again. Because I may not have been the best studier as a student, but I can grind like a son of a gun as a teacher.
Well, during the pandemic, okay, you were, we thought you were going to get nominated for, what are those, golden apples?
Golden apples for my kindergarten teaching prowess back in the day.
Right. Okay. I mean, it was, us nominating you. I mean, it's not like the county schools were nominating you, but you thought quite highly of the job that you did back in the day.
I did. I worked hard at it. It was actually, I mean, of all the bad things that the pandemic brought, it was for me being home with my daughter every day after, going through a divorce with my son and not my first wife and not seeing my son as much. It was a joy. It was an absolute joy doing it every day. And me playing Mr. Mom largely as a taxi cab service for my daughter now is a joy. But yesterday afternoon, she was not happy about Dad being the tutor. That's all that I know. But I managed to get in a round of golf, got the daughter studying, got her fed, and then snuck over to a minor league hockey game last night with our buddy Pat Kerwin.
Well, look at that. So you pulled it off.
I pulled it all off.
You were Mark and Mr. Mom.
All in one day. I feel like I accomplished something midweek.
Well, that's good. I mean, you then had a lot of leisure time and spent a lot of money yesterday, okay, while your wife worked like a dog. And your daughter doesn't want to spend any time with you right now because you grinded her too much. So tremendous day by you.
Yeah. Now I'm ready to turn the page and get fired up for the divisional round. National championships on Monday. Here we go.
I was going to say, you need to let them know that by like mid-afternoon on Saturday, you guys need to occupy yourself. I only have so many games left, okay? I only have so many games left. And by so many, I mean 8. All right? 7 of one and 1 of the other. All right? So figure it out, okay? Occupy yourselves.
Trying to figure out, because we all believe that the Bills-Ravens game is going to be a heavyweight fight.
Well, it is.
At least we hope so.
It is, before they ring the bell.
But what game of the other 3 games is most likely to provide us with a game, if you know what I mean? Pretty big point spreads in all 3.
Yeah, I think Sunday is the day. I think Saturday, with both 1 seeds at home Saturday, the onus is on Houston and or Washington to give us a day, something to sink our teeth into Saturday. I think the Rams show up. I do. I think the Rams show up. Now, this is a very different fight, though. I think the Rams are built for a passing team, which is what the Vikings were. The Eagles are exactly the opposite. The Eagles are going to look at that young defensive line and say, you boys ready for this? You don't get me wrong. You guys are good. You're exciting. You're going to be very good. Do you know what you're getting into today? This is mid-January football. All right. In the Northeast. It's going to be a little different today. We're going to give the ball to Saquon 25 times. Hurts may carry it 10, 12 more himself. You ready for this? This is a different game than the one you played Monday in Arizona. But I think the Rams can hold up. I do.
I don't know how much it matters, but I heard an interesting stat yesterday about the Rams. Their receivers haven't caught a touchdown pass in over a month. Either they're due or that's a problem because you got to figure out a way to get Puka and or Cooper Kupp into the end zone.
Well, the Rams during their 9-2 run started running the ball a lot more with Kieran Williams. So that's how the Rams are also going. They're going to look at the Eagles and go, hey, we're not afraid to run it at you either. That's why I'll be curious the scoring in Rams-Eagles. Like, I think that game, it may break out in the final 20 minutes of the game, but, Mark, there's a part of me that thinks that could be a little bit of a slog, that game. That the Rams are slowing the game down, the Eagles are slowing it down, trying to ground that defensive line. If I were the Eagles, I'd get the ball to A.J. Brown early, but that's me.
Well, how do they get it to him? Is to me the question in that game because Jalen Hurts has not shown that he's the most accurate guy in the world. So how do you get it to the receivers early without Jalen Hurts screwing it up?
Well, the first thing, if you're the Rams or the Eagles, that you have to find out for the Rams is, are they going to defend your wide receivers the way they defended the Vikings? The Rams doubled Jefferson all over the field. All over the field. And they always knew where the double was coming from, too. If he was out wide, it was traditional. It was safety over the top. But when Jefferson ran crosses, the Rams switched off. They had great communication. You know, the one linebacker or safety had him on this side of the field, and he was communicating with the other one going, he's coming your way, he's coming your way. And then they would switch off. So they had two guys on Jefferson damn near every snap. And then they basically trusted their other corners to be able to cover Addison as best they could. And I'm curious, do you take the same approach with the Eagles? Do you double Brown all over the place? And do you just say, hey, let's do the best job we can on Devontae? Now, I think Devontae's better than Addison. But also I want to double A.J. Brown because I want frustration. You know, he had one catch last week. I want the same start. I want him reading the book in the second quarter instead of the second half.
If he's reading the book in the second quarter, then he may explode on the quarterback, and the self-help book may not work as much.
Right.
Can work for a game. Does it work for two?
So Higbee got hurt. He's expected back, and we're playing the game. You know, I think the Eagles will win, but I think the Rams hang around for a while. Sean McVay's really good.
I do think this is where weather plays a part. I don't think the Rams will travel and play in the cold weather as a road team nearly as well as they played in Arizona in a neutral site game. I think that will affect Matt Stafford. And you and I both love Matt Stafford.
Yep. I'll say this. I don't think you should blitz Stafford. I actually think you make him and the Rams better when you blitz. Come on. He's been in the league since 2009. What the hell hasn't he seen? Seriously, you think you could throw something at Matt Stafford he hasn't seen? The other thing is, and you're right, Mark, they don't have dynamic wide receivers. I mean, Cooper Kupp was a non-factor in the game against the Vikings. You know, Puka's their guy. Well, Puka's not a big play threat. Puka's a possession receiver. So can they beat the Eagles, you know, having to churn out 5-6 first downs on a touchdown drive? That's tough to do. But I think they hang.
That Eagle defense is maybe the least talked about big unit left in the playoffs. We talk about Kansas City and Spags and their D, but the Eagles defense can get to you with 4. They don't have to blitz as much. I love the way that their defense is playing right now. In fact, I think, you know, their units combined are the best units going, but you're right. Matthew Stafford can be an equalizer, but you said it, David. Can they do it with 4 or 5 long drives in the game? Because I don't see the Eagles giving up a lot of quick scores to the Rams in this game.
Nakobe Dean out for the year with a patella injury. How much will that hurt the Eagles defense? But the 2-1 seeds at home on Saturday. And not only did the Lions get the extra week off, but as was pointed out, you do know that Mahomes and Kelsey and the boys haven't played since Christmas. You know, literally Christmas Day is the last time the Chiefs played a meaningful game where they played their regulars. You know, they mailed it in against the Broncos. So that was a week and a half to the regular season ended, and now we're almost 2 full weeks. I mean, the Chiefs will be playing for the first time in either 23 or 24 days Saturday afternoon.
And Andy Reid, we all know, pretty damn good with time. But will there be any rust from the Chiefs when they get started against the Texans. We will dive deep into Bills-Ravens today, the starting five, 25 minutes away. Thanks so much for listening to Miller and Moulton.
Miller and Moulton would like to thank the sponsors that quite frankly saved the show in 2024. Whether it was Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Molly Maid, Cigar Bar, Sleep Treatment Direct, the Diamond District, and even the Cape Coral Police Department, thank you. We're hopeful of a great 2025, still needing sponsors, so reach out to Miller and Moulton via X at that Mark Miller or the David Moulton, or text us at 21,000. But Miller and Moulton says thank you to our sponsors and to you, our loyal listeners. Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Core-Tech, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
A new year is here, and with it comes new beginnings and new opportunities. At the Diamond District, Jason and Todd are inspired by the possibilities ahead. Whether you're celebrating a new love, renewing a commitment, or making a milestone, make it magical with a diamond from the Diamond District. Jason and Todd look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I think Albright's their best insider. Ray Johns, we knew red dye number 3 caused cancer 35 years ago. We just still weren't willing to outlaw it. He's ineligible to play until after the Super Bowl. So, no. They did that just to be able to get a draft pick. It was banned in certain things, but not in others. Now they're looking to ban it in everything.
Did you see the end? It was yesterday or 2 days ago of the ECU North Texas game.
Mm-mm.
ECU
Is
throws
this the
up
one?
a half court shot down 69-57 when the refs added time to the clock.
Right.
Takes it over.
Yes, that I did see. Yes, I didn't know the teams involved, but right, the game was over. It said it on the screen, 69-57. They put like less than a second on the clock. They inbounded to the guy. He catches it, heaves in a 50-footer to take the game over.
Yeah. Now, if you're betting North Texas ECU over unders, you've got a bigger problem.
There's no doubt.
Did you hear the open music?
Yes.
Okay, maybe it was my headset. I didn't know why I couldn't hear anything in my headsets. It was freaking me.
Right, I figured that. Well, you wait, guys, if they ever actually put sports energy drinks through.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour on this Thursday. How's your week gone? You're over the hump. You can see the weekend from here. We got 8 games left, folks. 7 NFL and the Natty on Monday. So savor them all. 4 of them this weekend, 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday. Obviously, Monday night's national championship game. So, you know, there's times to get stuff done. I mean, maybe you can on Saturday because Texas Chiefs doesn't kick off till 4:30-ish Eastern. But, you know, need to get your, get your game on. Need to get ready. We'll have plenty of time for the offseason. It is coming quickly. 28 teams seasons will be done on Monday morning. That's right. Miller and Moulton. So if you were Quinn Ewers, would you have stayed for one more year?
I would have stayed in college for one more year. I don't know if I would have stayed at Texas for one more year.
I don't think they would have let you stay at Texas.
I don't either.
No, it's Arch's time. He waited patiently, and Quinn, you need to take, besides Texas could just turn around and say, we're not going to offer you a dime. And he's like, well, I'm being offered $4 to $6 million. And it's like, well, then take it. But
I mean, he's losing money on this deal to go to the NFL. Lots of money.
Yeah.
He's not going to be a first-round pick.
You don't think so?
No. I know there's a lot of desperate teams out there, David. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
And someone could possibly trade back into late in the first round to grab Quinn Ewers.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't.
This is not going to be a sexy draft. All right. This is going to be very much a draft that should be held in the Lambeau Field parking lot. That's going to be the kind of draft this is. And you're going to have a lot of quarterbacks right now, Mark, in which they're getting second or third round grades. The Jackson Darts of the world, the Jalen Milrose of the world, the Quinn Ewers of the world. But if you were Quinn Ewers, would you have played one more year of college ball wherever? Probably in the Big Ten is what the word was.
Or Notre Dame.
There's that. for $4 to $6 million? Or would you say, no, my time here is done. I need to go be an NFL quarterback?
I would have taken the money and played one more year and tried to get myself to make sure I'm a first-round draft pick and then get paid twice, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. I do.
That's the move I would have made if I was Quinn Ewers. But he's going to the NFL draft, where I don't think he'll get drafted on Thursday. I think he'll be a Friday pick. You seem to think someone will come up in the first round and get him because of the lack of quarterbacks in this draft. Not because of talent. I'm not trying to put words into your mouth, but the sound you're making, you seem to think someone will try to get back into the first round to grab a Quinn Ewers.
Not necessarily for Ewers. The one who I think has a chance to be a trade into the late first round to get him is Jackson Dart from Ole Miss. That's the guy that NFL people have just started to zero in on. And they're like, oh, wow, he's pretty good. Also, Mark, he checks the one box that NFL teams really want checked. He's started a lot of games in college. He has started for 3 years. He's got his 40 starts in him. Now, he may not have Bo Nix, 117 starts or what it was, for 6 years of college ball. But Dart's not a one-year guy. I also think Milroe, depending on, I don't know who's going to the Senior Bowl. There's the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl. And I don't know who's going where. I know Shedeur is going to the Shrine.
And Dart's going to the Senior Bowl. I do know that.
And I think if he has a good week in Mobile, I think he has a chance to get drafted on Thursday. He's got enough size. He's got enough experience. The Ole Miss offense doesn't help him. A little too much chuck and duck. All right. But he'll have a chance in Mobile and on the blackboard and what have you to be able to prove to the NFL people that he can handle something a little more downfield. And I just think, Mark, it goes back to there are too many teams that need quarterbacks.
Right? No, there's no doubt. It's why when we go through the jobs that are available in the NFL, we separate Dallas, Jacksonville, and Chicago from the rest because they have a quarterback.
And by draft board, all these teams in the top 10 who need a quarterback, most of them should not be taking what is available. But can you, as a general manager, pass up a guy? Can you pass up a guy who may turn out to be the guy? And can you pass him up when you don't have a guy?
Well, our philosophy for years on this show has been draft one until you get one.
Right. But will those teams go, well, I can get somebody in the early part of the second round on Friday, but I'm not going to waste my Thursday pick. Like, I'm torn. I'm a Giants fan. They're picking third. And there's a part of me that's like, yeah, I know we don't have a quarterback, but have you seen Carter from Penn State? Also, the Giants secondary is bad. Travis Hunter is a shutdown corner. I mean, I'm willing to put my job on Travis Hunter, on the Penn State defensive end, on the Michigan defensive tackle. Those are people that if they turn out to be then you can fire me because I'll be 8,000% wrong. But these quarterbacks, Mark, which quarterback in this draft are you willing to put your job on the line for?
Not one. David, not one, because I'm not sure on Cam Ward. There's a lot to like. There's a lot that I worry about. Shedeur Sanders, I think, throws the most catchable ball of the quarterbacks out there, but he holds on to it for an eternity, and he doesn't move that well in the pocket. Those are things that are important in today's game. So, no, David, I wouldn't be able to put my job on the line for either quarterback, not to mention anybody we're talking about late first round or a Friday pick.
And therefore, do you then say, now I'll put my job on the line on a Friday quarterback? I'll take whoever I can get my hands on early on Friday. That I'll do. Like if you're Tennessee, you going to put the organization on Cam Ward's shoulders? I mean, are you willing to invest it all on Cam Ward? Or do you go, man, I can get Milroe first pick tomorrow. I might be able to get Jackson Dart first pick tomorrow. Hell, I might be able to get Jackson Dart in 3 hours. I can call somebody. But I'm taking the end. I'm taking the tackle. I'm taking the shutdown corner. I can put my job on the line for those guys.
And I don't know. Tennessee's so mismanaged and they need a quarterback. What will they do when it comes draft time? That's such an interesting case, David, when you talk about that, because they have a lot of needs and they're mismanaged. So when you look at a team like Tennessee, they're a wild card at the top of the draft to me.
And think about it. They're going to have a brand new general manager. First ever pick. What's his decision going to be? Is it going to be quarterback? And that's how his tenure will be defined? Or will he go the other way? And that's how his tenure will be defined. The starting 5 is next.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
Is snoring bothering your spouse? Would you like to sleep in the same bed again? Do you know that snoring can affect your sleep cycle and cause lower testosterone levels? At Sleep Treatment Direct, we have easy solutions. We have a simple laser procedure that can improve snoring in 10 minutes. If you would like to get back in the same bed or are looking for a natural way to treat low testosterone, give us a call at 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Or go to sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com. Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I don't think Hunter's going to be an every down wide receiver. I think he's going to be an every down corner, and he's going to be a situational wide receiver.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton.
MillerandMoulton.com is how you join us. A little glitch in the system this morning. We had a couple yesterday. Great show lined up for you today. As I mentioned, we will get into Bills and Ravens with Ryan O'Halloran. Buffalo News columnist will join us in the 7 o'clock hour to talk Bills. And Cordell Woodland, a Ravens reporter, will join us in the 8 o'clock hour to dive into the Ravens. Roy Cummings on the show as well, as we put a bow on the Buccaneers season, which obviously came to an end over the weekend against Washington. Washington and Detroit Saturday night, Chiefs and Houston Saturday afternoon, Eagles and Rams on Sunday, and then the evening game on Sunday night, the one we're all waiting for, the Bills and the Ravens. I know everyone is expecting to hear the starting five right now, but the guy who does the starting five, one David Moulton, who did the work, who wrote it down, disappeared from the show a moment ago. So when he comes back, we'll get to the starting five. But when you look at this weekend's games, where do you see the upset? David sees the Rams having a shot to stay up with the Eagles. Talking with some folks yesterday, Pat and I talked during the game. He sees both the one-seas winnings, as do I, but he did say his partner Jim Miller on Moving the Chains is looking at Washington as a live dog in that game, seeing if Detroit's defense can stop Daniels. I think he's on to something there, although I think Detroit scores enough points at home that I don't think the rookie quarterback can keep up when it's said and done. I don't think they have the personnel to get into the 30s, where I think Detroit has the personnel to get into the 30s on damn near anyone, except for maybe the Eagles. And that's why I think a Lions-Eagles NFC championship would be an unbelievable contrast in styles as to how Philadelphia defensively would come at Detroit. Would they be able to stop them? But that is for another day. Can the Rams do something with their offense? And it's about long drives with the Rams. We talked about that in the open. The Rams receivers haven't had a touchdown in 4 games. So when you look at Stafford and you look at the Rams, you look at a team that's going to have to figure out a way to get multiple first downs and then not settle for field goals in the red zone. And that's something that I wonder if they can do. Now, without any further ado, it is time for
The Starting Five. 5 big stories you need to know. Here is the Starting Five.
If the internet's going to go kaplooey, I'd like to do so during a commercial break. Not literally when the mics are turned on, and I'm telling you that an hour from now, Ryan O'Halloran, columnist with the Buffalo News, will be joining us. Roy Cummings for the final time this season talking about the Bucs, and Cordell Woodland, who covers the Ravens. So we'll talk plenty of hardcore football coming up. But, Mark, it's interview season, at least until the weekend. Mike McCarthy interviewed with the Bears. David Shaw interviewed with the Bears. Tomorrow, Rams offensive coordinator Todd Monken interviews with the Bears. Who hasn't interviewed with the Bears?
or the Jets.
Todd Monken's interviewing today with the Jags. Brian Flores is going to interview today and tomorrow with the Jets and Jags. And then he'll interview with the Bears over the weekend. Arthur Smith got done interviewing with the Bears. Robert Saleh's already interviewed with the Jags. Later this week, apparently he's going to interview with the Cowboys. And Broncos defensive coordinator Vance Joseph, he also interviewed with the Jets. Wow. There's a couple GM openings. Titans interviewing a bunch of people. Keep an eye on Kansas City Assistant General Manager Mike Borgonzi. Just throwing that out there. College football, Quinn Ewers, as we mentioned earlier, he left to go to the draft. This is a big one with me, Mark. The College Football Hall of Fame class was unveiled. The class of 2025 will include Nick Saban and Urban Meyer, Mike Vick, Michael Strahan. You got to go back a ways. Notre Dame quarterback Terry Hanratty, USC defensive back Dennis Thurman, Graham Harrell, quarterback Texas Tech, Wisconsin running back Monty Ball, Greg Carr of Auburn, Haloti Ngata from Oregon, Steve Slayton, the quarterback from West Virginia, and big old defensive lineman John Henderson from Tennessee. That's among those that are going in to the Hall of Fame. Sad story. You may remember 12 years ago at the Nebraska spring game, they did a very nice thing for a young Jack Hoffman, who was 5 years old or 7, I guess, at the time. And they, put him in pads and a helmet, and he scored a touchdown in front of all those fans in Lincoln in the spring game. Jack battled brain cancer for 14 years. Died yesterday at the age of 19. College hoops. We had a couple of ranked teams playing one another last night. Iowa State handled Kansas and then some.
Did they ever?
Second-ranked Cyclones beat the Jayhawks by 17. Sixth-ranked Vols handled 23rd-ranked Georgia by 18, 74-56. We had 2 system plays. We were looking like we were going 2-0 when Washington, getting 7.5, had an 8-point halftime lead on Purdue, only to have Purdue come back and win by 11. Come on, Boilermakers. Was that necessary? Meanwhile, we had UNLV at home getting 3.5 or 4.5.
They're running Rebels, David.
And they beat Utah State outright, 65-62. FAU beat Tulane. South Florida lost to UAB. A couple of other notes from NCAA yesterday. First off, they're going to start paying the women's basketball teams for getting in the NCAA tournament and winning games. I don't know if you thought they were getting paid. No, only the men's side. So now they're going to start rewarding financially the women's teams. And you remember in the past that teams almost had to have a disaster happen to be able to petition the NCAA to, hey, can we play this school in an exhibition game and the money goes to a charity? And oftentimes the NCAA would say yes, but there's no exhibition games in Division I basketball. Remember, there's those secret scrimmages, which are not so secret. Right. Well, the NCAA has gotten with the program and they're like, listen, you can all schedule 2 exhibition games. You can schedule them against anybody you want in terms of 4-year schools. Just go crazy, honestly. NBA. Magic got whacked in Milwaukee by 29, 122-93. Lakers down 12 at the half against the Heat. Came back to snap a 3-game losing skid, 117-108. Knicks with some costly turnovers late in regulation allowed the Sixers to force overtime before the Knicks rallied to beat Philadelphia 125-119. Hey, Mark, you're not going to believe this, but against the Knicks on national television, Tyrese Maxey and Paul George played.
How about that?
Couldn't play 2 nights earlier. George hasn't played for weeks. Hey, they played. They combined for 59 points, too. Boston mailed one in and lost in Toronto 110-97.
Yeah, Toronto's won 2 in a row, but before that, they'd won 1 of 17.
Right. And we were talking yesterday that Steph and Golden State below 500. Yet they went into Minneapolis. Steph hit a corner three late, beat the T-Wolves 116-115. Golden State's 20-20 on the season. Oh, one other NBA note. Did you see the Clippers Brooklyn Nets score last night?
I've got it up in front of me because if you weren't going to go to the game, I was going to chastise you a little bit. David, at the end of the first quarter, the game was 21-21.
Yeah, well, after that, if we do the math, Mark, the Clippers outscored the Nets 105-46.
Right.
Yeah, the Clippers beat Brooklyn by 59 last night.
59 points.
126-67. Hello.
67 in an NBA game. Wow.
Yeah. NHL only 2 games. Sabres doubled up Carolina 4-2. Edmonton beat the Wild 5-3. Australian Open. Men's side. He just won his match a little while ago. The top seed Sinner yesterday, second seed Zverev. They both won, as did 12th seeded American Tommy Paul. 6th seed Casper Ruud is out. Also, top American Francis Tiafoe is out. On the women's side, Coco Gauff, a winner. Second seed Swiatek, a winner. Emma Navarro and Madison Keys. A couple of other top Americans. They advanced as well. 2 golf stories to wrap things up. It was reported a few weeks ago that LIV hired a new CEO and he'd be taking over for Greg Norman. That's now official. Scott O'Neill is in, Greg Norman out. So Norman did his 3 years, took all the slings and arrows, and now he's out. I'll be curious if the golf world is going to welcome Greg Norman back. You know, he hasn't felt comfortable going to Augusta. He hasn't felt comfortable going to the Open Championship. Like, you know, they had a big champions dinner a couple years ago, and both Phil and Norman didn't go as former champions. Norman twice. I'm just curious. Now that he's not officially with LIV anymore, will he be welcomed back into the golf community?
I don't think so, David. I really don't.
And have you heard the story of 17-year-old Blades Brown? He, top junior golfer in America, and he said no to college. And he's going straight to being a pro. This is very Justin Rose. Remember, Rose finished T4 in the Open Championship in, I think it was 98. And he went straight to being a pro and had an awful time for years and battled through it. Well, Blades Brown, who does not have status on the PGA Tour, but apparently already has a bunch of sponsors exemptions lined up, including one to the American Express, which begins today in La Quinta. 17-year-old Blades Brown.
This has not worked well for the overwhelming majority of players who have tried to pull this off. You brought up Justin Rose, the one that did work. There's, and I'm trying to think of Ty's last name. That was a couple of years ago. That was a phenom. That has largely not worked when players have done this.
He played in a PGA Tour event last year and I believe had a top 20. But now he's going to try to get in as many tournaments as he can on sponsors exemption. And by the way, Sled Puppy in our Twitch chat room said it was Ty Tryon.
Okay.
Thank you, Sled or Puppy, whichever one you want to go by. And at 9 minutes before the hour, that was starting 5. 5 big stories in the Australian Open you need to know here on Miller and Moulton.
5 big stories and the Australian Open, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Because I kind of feel like I'm throwing that in for me and 3 others.
Well, I think you're right that you are. Have you tuned it in yet? Have you have you been up late at night, early in
No.
the morning, and just thrown on a little Australian?
No, you know my schedule this week. No.
All right.
Uh,
I never
no.
know when you're sleep deprived, wake up in the middle of the night and said, I need the Australian Open.
Now, there's a chance early next week, we get to, like, if Djokovic and Alcaraz are going to play. But that's the other thing. You don't have to tune into that match at the beginning. I mean, that's going to be 3 to 5 hours. You can find out, when does that match start? And literally you can make an appointment like 2 hours in. Let me check in on this match. I mean, would they play a 3-set, for the gold medal in Paris? And I think Djokovic won in straight sets. And I thought the match in 2 sets, I think he won in straight sets, and the match took 3.5 hours.
Double human rain delay.
It is interesting that Djokovic has Andy Murray as his coach now.
That should speed things up.
Miller and Moulton.
We'll get a poll question lined up. Our Swamp Buggy Races poll question. We'll check in with the Bills in the 7 o'clock hour. Roy Cummings in a little Ravens talk in the 8. Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for listening.
Miller and Moulton would like to thank the sponsors that, quite frankly, saved the show in 2024. Whether it was Floor Mart, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Molly Maid, Cigar Bar, Sleep Treatment Direct, the Diamond District, and even the Cape Coral Police Department, thank you. We're hopeful of a great 2025, still needing sponsors, so reach out to Miller and Moulton via X at that Mark Miller or the David Moulton, or text us at 21,000. But Miller and Moulton says thank you to our sponsors and to you, our loyal listeners.
Do you have a sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
The world-famous cigar bar started as a neighborhood place in downtown Fort Myers, and now it's a brand, a destination, with 4 locations. The original place, Henry Street, Fort Myers, Gulf Coast Town Center, on Southeast 47th Terrace off the Cape Coral Parkway, and the Lounge on West 1st Street in Fort Myers. A place to go, whether you just need a relaxing drink and a smoke after a tough day at work, or a place to go celebrate. From relaxation to celebration, the world-famous cigar bar.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
This is Miller and Moulton.
What are you thinking for a poll question?
Best chance for an upset this weekend. Commanders, Texans, Rams.
I like it. That was mine as well.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. Ryan O'Halloran from the Buffalo News will join us in a little over 30 minutes' time as we begin diving in on this weekend's games. The big one, obviously, Sunday early evening. Ravens at Bills, expected to be around 8 degrees at kickoff. Chance for some snow. Figure on some healthy wind. How important do you think the lead is in this game? Do you think the Bills-Ravens is a lot like hockey, and hockey teams try to deny it, Mark, but that stat about scoring first looms large every year, particularly in the playoffs?
Well, I don't know about scoring first as much as who punts first, who loses a possession first, how many possessions will they have in a game like this? You know, Baltimore, you think with Henry and Lamar are going to run it. and try to do the opposite of what they did last year when they blew the game against Kansas City and drop back and throw it however many times that they did. So I don't look at it who score first, who screws up first. And that could be one and the same, David.
The divisional round has been where playoff dreams go to die for both the Bills and the Ravens for much of the last handful of years. Only once before have the Bills and Ravens gotten past the division round in recent years. And both lost the AFC Championship game to the Chiefs. Buffalo did so in Kansas City by 14, the Ravens home last year. So Ryan O'Halloran of the Buffalo News, he'll join us coming up in a little more than 30 minutes. Cordell Woodland, who covers the Ravens in Baltimore, will join us next hour. So time for a poll question. The Swamp Buggy Races poll question. The races are not this weekend, but next weekend. Parade on Saturday, races on Sunday. Go to swampbuggy.com for information and tickets.
Well, I threw it out there a little bit to you earlier in the show. We're going to go with it. Who has the best chance for an upset this weekend? Texans over Chiefs, Commanders over Lions, Rams over Eagles. Since the Bills and Ravens game is a virtual pick'em, it's not really an upset no matter who wins.
Don't you think if the Texans were to beat the Chiefs, that it would feel like much more than a team who was an 8.5, 9-point underdog winning a playoff game?
Yes, and it would take so much away to, I want the Chiefs to win. I don't like or dislike the Chiefs. I love greatness. I want to see a three-peat. But at the same time, this Ravens-Bills game is so big that the winner has to get the Chiefs to me. You win that game against the Texans, it would be like, what? What just happened here? That's not the way the AFC is supposed to go. These two are supposed to slug it out, and the winner gets Mahomes and the Chiefs. That's the way it goes in the AFC right now.
At Arrowhead also. It's like, congratulations, now climb the mountain, which may be bigger than the Super Bowl mountain, but climb the mountain. I hear you. But to me, it feels like you look at the point spread, and the Chiefs have played a lot of games 7 points or less, and you're thinking, they don't score a ton of points like they used to. So you could see where the game's around 27-17, blah, blah, blah. But it feels to me, Mark, like, when the Patriots upset the Rams and the greatest show on turf there in that Super Bowl, I mean, they were a 14-point dog. They felt like a 14-point dog. To me, the Texans may be an 8.5-point dog. They feel like a 14 to a 17-point dog to me.
Even with the way they dismantled the Chargers last week.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. The Broncos and the Chargers are not in the same area code as the Chiefs. They're just not.
The Texans proved that they're in a different area code than the Chargers last week by just whooping their behinds.
I know, but they did the same thing to the Browns last year. Cleveland had a terrific regular season, 11 wins, Flacco with playoff experience, that vaunted defense. Yeah, at home, they tore it up. They went to Baltimore the next week. They couldn't get first downs. They couldn't get the ball across midfield. I mean, it's just a totally different area code. And I feel that that's where the Texans are shopping in Saturday. That, to me, I mean, if it's a game, and I don't mean they're hanging around and I guess they could win down 10. No. I mean, imagine, Mark, going to the fourth quarter, Texans by 3.
David, I wondered how the Texans would be able to score efficiently against the Chargers. Now they're stepping up in class from a defense standpoint with Spags and what the Chiefs do. And they're doing it on the road. David, if the Texans have a 3-point lead going into the fourth quarter, I'll be standing up behind the couch, not putting my fat butt on the couch, because I will be in amazement. Because I'm trying to figure out how they score points against the Chiefs. How 2 weeks in a row this team can be a really productive offense to beat an elite team. I don't see it.
I mean, the Chiefs went 15-2. They basically went 15-1 and mailed one in. I mean, I'm sorry. This feels like it would be a staggering upset to me. I don't think this Texans team is as good as last year's
I don't either.
because of the injuries. So that's our Swamp Buggy Races poll question. Bills Ravens is a pick 'em, basically. 1 point either way. So, there is no upset there. But the other 3 games, the road teams are decided underdogs. 6 to 9 points, basically. So now, you could feel that none of them are going to win. That's not what we're asking you. Best shot at the upset. Like, I'm curious. Jaden Daniels has had not 1, not 2, but 3 games this year. 3 games this year in which his team didn't punt. Now, they were against the Bucs, the Bengals, and the Giants, but 2 of the 3 were on the road, by the way. I mean, is Jaden Daniels that type of phenom, if you will, where Jaden Daniels could bring the Commanders in? And by the way, Dan Quinn's going to go for it just about as many times as Dan Campbell.
You beat me to what I wanted to get to. It's the first time, when you talk about games and third down conversions, that's really going to be the story in this game, David. Who can advance the chains on third down? Well, not in Lions Commanders. The story of this game could very well be who's the more efficient team on fourth down, because they both go for it a lot and they're both really, really good at it. I don't think we've ever said that about a football game before. Which team's going to be more efficient going forward on fourth down?
Well, I have a feeling that Detroit's going to do what Tampa Bay didn't do enough of last week. I have a feeling Detroit's going to run it on Washington. I have a feeling that Detroit's offensive line, which is a whole different level than the Bucs offensive line, that this is where Washington meets its match. Washington actually got stops against Tampa Bay. I don't know how many stops they're getting Saturday night.
And can Jaden Daniels get into the 30s against Detroit? Because that's where you think you need to get in order to beat Detroit.
Right. So Lions got the week off. Chiefs got 3.5 weeks off, by the way, because they basically played the last time for real on Christmas Day.
21,000 is the text line. You can always watch the show, twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton, youtube.com/Miller and Moulton, if you want to check us out and see what our ugly mugs look like while we talk back and forth in the mornings. But you can vote on the poll question, Miller_Moulton on X, that Mark Miller, the David Moulton on X. And we're asking you which team has the best shot at an upset this weekend. Right now, overwhelming majority of you picking the Rams over the Eagles as your upset choice.
And Empire in our Twitch chat room says the disrespect to the Eagles is insane to me. Empire, I would argue it's because folks don't think there's a chance of an upset on Saturday. They think the 1 seeds are going to cruise on Saturday. And so they're saying, well, the question is best chance. McVay, Stafford, they've won a Super Bowl before. They've finished just about as hot as the Eagles were. So, do I give them a puncher's chance? I do. I don't give the other 2 a puncher's chance. That's why I think the Rams could end up winning this question. I was curious as to how many people were going to ride the Jaden Daniels train. How many Lions fans out there were like, ooh, man, I did not want to see him. That's a little too dangerous for me in a one-and-done scenario.
He and they have far exceeded expectations this year. But can a rookie quarterback go on the road in back-to-back weeks and win in the playoffs? That's another level entirely. And I don't think they have the team offensively to put up the numbers that they're going to need.
And this is usually where the overachieving team meets its match. Like Denver got as far as they could because, they got Buffalo. They got one of the 5 best teams in the league they had to play. They're not ready for that. Washington got Tampa Bay. They got one of the 10, 12 best teams in the league. And they're like, oh, we might be able to win that. And they did. Well, now they're getting a heavyweight. And that's usually where the Cinderella stories, if you will, the overachieving team. Come on. You could be the biggest Commanders fan in the world. 12-5 regular season? A road playoff win? Come on. This seems like the max, right?
Well, and they were what? They were plus again in the takeaways, against Tampa. Do you think that's going to happen 2 weeks in a row on the road? I don't. They will need it to.
It needs to.
Right.
It needs to.
And Tampa Bay was one of the worst teams at takeaways all year long and didn't get any in the game against Washington. So that's another part of this. Miller and Moulton. We'll talk more Bills this hour. Ravens and a little Bucs final words in the 8 o'clock hour on Miller and Moulton. We started our show 18 years ago and have been fired 3 times. But Miller and Moulton have never lived on the edge like we are now. We have our best morning ratings ever and are steadily adding affiliates. Yet, we only have a few sponsors, and if that doesn't change, we cannot continue. But if you want to advertise on Miller and Moulton, reach out to one of us directly by texting sponsor to 21,000 or by contacting me on X at @MarkMiller or David at @TheDavidMoulton. You can save Miller and Moulton and make your business some serious money by texting 21,000 now.
The world-famous cigar bar started as a neighborhood place in downtown Fort Myers, and now it's a brand, a destination, with 4 locations. The original place, Henry Street, Fort Myers, Gulf Coast Town Center, on Southeast 47th Terrace off the Cape Coral Parkway, and the Lounge on West 1st Street in Fort Myers. A place to go, whether you just need a relaxing drink and a smoke after a tough day at work, or a place to go celebrate. From relaxation to celebration, the world-famous cigar bar. Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I don't know if we can get the whole segment on it, but I got a little something here.
Good. Golly. I'll tell you, we're going to get lucky in Kansas City because the cold weather's coming late Saturday into Sunday. High of like 14 on Sunday in Kansas City, a low of 2.
Empire, what are you so upset about?
They're kind of trash talking each other in there about picking playoff games, and so I think he's talking to the guys in Twitch. Oh, CBS always has the AFC Championship game. Fox always has the NFC. Yes, sir, DC.
Pat's thinking about leaving Sunday morning. They've got the Sunday night game.
Yeah. I mean, all you have to do is check the weather.
Right.
I mean, here. Well, 55% chance of snow on Sunday. But I'm done. My game is, Saturday's it for me.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Miller_Moulton on X. Brian O'Halloran of the Buffalo News. He'll join us coming up. Roy Cummings, Cordell Woodland, talking Bucs and Ravens. Next hour, one team season's over. Other team needs to keep winning or else their season is over. Our Swamp Buggy Races poll question. So Baltimore Buffalo's a virtual pick 'em, so there's no upset there. But the other three, teams are 6 to 9 point favorites, so best chance for an upset. Texans, Commanders, Rams. That's our Swamp Buggy Races poll question. The races are not this weekend, but next weekend. Florida Sports Park, Naples, Saturday the 25th, the parade. Sunday, the 26th, the races at noon. Go to swampbuggy.com and get your tickets.
So we don't pay we pay a little bit of attention to it now, but and David and I maybe a little bit more than most. But the Olympics, David and I caught the fever over the summer when the Twitch chat room starts. David will award the gold, silver, and bronze for the first 3 texters that come in, and we've kind of done that every day. Our sponsor packages, when we did them because it was Olympic time, we did a gold, silver, and bronze packages. By the way, sponsor to 21,000 if you're interested. But I saw 2 stories that have to do with the Olympics. that don't really have anything to do with one another. One's a really good story, a nice story, a heartwarming story. Not a really good story, a heartwarming story. And I don't know if you saw this, David, but Olympian Gary Hall Jr., one of the many people in California that lost his home to the horrific fires that are going on in and around L.A.
And 10 medals.
He lost, he left with his dog and his insulin. He's a type 1 diabetic. He took his dog and his insulin, went to San Diego, and went to his sister's. And fortunately, he and the dog are okay. I don't believe the house is, because he lost all of his medals. And the IOC said, we're going to replace, as soon as we heard about Hall losing his medals, it seemed that the IOC was already saying, we are going to replace all of his medals. So great job by the IOC.
10 medals he won as a U.S. swimmer, 5 gold. Yeah, good for them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, very logical. Seems like the right thing to do when they did it. But that's not really the Olympic medal story that's out right now.
Uh-oh.
Because apparently over 100 Olympic medals won by athletes at the Paris Summer Games are already falling apart.
Oh, my goodness.
The French Mint that created the medals produced a little over 5,000 medals. And they've been under scrutiny from just days after the Olympics because a skateboarder, Najai Hudson, won bronze. And he went viral after he shared images of his medal rapidly deteriorating after the games. And apparently he's not the only one. The medals at the Summer Games are apparently junk, and they're falling apart.
The games were 6 months ago.
Exactly.
What the heck?
The IOC had told the AP that the Paris organizers are in contact with the National Olympic Committee, and the replacement process will start in the coming weeks. And the French Mint is working with the Paris organizers to figure out the damage they have done. But apparently it's something with the varnishing process of the medals that they screwed up, and literally Olympic medals are falling apart. Leave it to the French to screw up the Olympics.
Well, so much so that why should we trust them to get the do-over right? No, I'm being very serious. If I'm the IOC, I'd say, yeah, guys, we're not giving you a second crack at it. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to find someone else who prints medals. They're going to do it. You're going to pay for it. How does that sound?
Sounds pretty fair to me. How do you screw up a medal?
Well, I don't know. Maybe we have somebody out there who makes things, and they say,
Jason, where the hell are you? I know it's not your hour yet, but what the hell went on with these medals?
Yeah. I mean, come on now. I mean, maybe it'll make that U.S. gymnast feel a little better. Remember, she won the bronze and they wanted to give it back because there was the whole scoring controversy. And, if the medal is junk, all right. I mean, she could offer to give this one to the Romanian or whatever, and she'll take the new one.
Fair enough. I just thought that was a fun little story. The medals are the Olympic medals from the Summer Games in Paris, this past summer, are falling apart.
Wow. That's not good. Simone Biles is already being asked, is she going to compete in Los Angeles?
Won't she be in her 30s?
I think she'll be 31.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, hasn't she already competed in 3 Olympics? I mean, I don't know. Husband's an NFL player, approaching your late 20s. What do you say? Settle down, enjoy life. I mean, you're Simone Biles. I mean, you could live off endorsements and every 4 years being a broadcaster. I mean, and she has not ruled it out.
That is amazing.
Yes.
When you're washed up at that sport at 20 most of the time.
Right. And she is being asked, is she going to compete at 31? And she's like, I don't know. What? Let me tell you something. If she does, will there be any other story in the Summer Olympics? If she could win a gold in anything at 31, seriously. I know it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be in LA. All right. It's going to be in the US. It's going to get nonstop coverage. The US will do really well. The home nations always do well. But would there be any story that would be in the area code of her?
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now?
No.
Is there going to be any other story? David, where have you been? This is the first Olympics with flag football. How could there not be another story in these Olympic Games?
Sorry, Mahomes. I don't know what to tell you. You don't compete with Simone Biles at 31. No way.
Talking about Simone Biles in another Olympics when we have flag football. How dare you, sir? How dare you?
All right, quick sidebar. If you're Major League Baseball, don't you have to shut it down that year and send your best? Seriously, let Ohtani represent his country. Okay, let's have Judge and Trout and let's go. Now, by then, Trout may be too old. Hell, Judge might be too old because I think he's 32 now. All right, but you know what I mean. If you're Major League Baseball, don't you give it a shot? Like the first time hockey shut it down and sent their guys. If you're baseball, come on. And Manfred will be at about the end. In fact, it might be his last full year as commissioner. Don't you say, we're going to shut it down this year. We're going to send our very best.
Can they do it in a week, David? Can they do it in a week? Similar, the NHL shut down for a week for this Four Nations thing, which is a precursor to the Olympics. We all know it. Can they just do it in a week as opposed to the whole 2? Because I don't think baseball would shut its sport down for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I wouldn't ask for 2 weeks, but I'd want a week and a half. I would. Come on. We Japan's best, Puerto Rico's best, the U.S.'s best, the whole deal. The Dominican, they all show up. What do they need? 1 day to work out together? I mean, come on. Miller and Moulton. Ryan O'Halloran. Let's talk Bills Ravens next.
We started our show 18 years ago and have been fired 3 times, but Miller and Moulton have never lived on the edge like we are now. We have our best morning ratings ever, are steadily adding affiliates, yet we only have a few sponsors. And if that doesn't change, we can't continue. But if you want to advertise on Miller and Moulton, reach out to one of us directly by texting sponsor to 21,000 or contact Mark on X at that Mark Miller or me at the David Moulton. You can save Miller and Moulton and make your business some serious money by texting 21,000 now.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and 1 replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Yeah, Sonny, didn't he die like 20 years ago, though?
I don't think it was 20, but you're close. I remember he had that art store
Yeah.
downtown Fort
Yeah.
Myers, right?
October 07, so 17 plus.
Wow, okay. I didn't think it was that long.
But yeah.
Seven o'clock's my coffee hour. Coffee's still a little too warm in the 6 o'clock hour to guzzle.
Okay.
7 o'clock hour is when I really get after it, just in case anybody was wondering. It's delicious right now. It's at the perfect temperature.
Okay.
David, someone texted in to watch the Morant dunk over Wemby. It's worth taking a look at.
I heard it didn't count.
It didn't count? Well, maybe before. There was a whistle before, so maybe they called a foul before it. Ryan is all set.
He's from West Fargo, North Dakota. West Fargo had the CBC on their cable system. The rest of Fargo didn't. On Saturday nights, I was the weekend sports anchor for a couple of years. I used to race over to my buddy who lived in West Fargo to watch Don Cherry's intermission. We'd have dinner together, and then I'd watch the intermission, then I'd leave.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour. That's when Roy Cummings will join us, and we'll put a bow on the Bucs season, the good, the bad, and where they go from here. Cordell Woodland, 1 hour from now, he covers the Ravens. But Ryan O'Halloran is kind enough to join us at this time. He covers sports in Buffalo. He's a writer and columnist for the Buffalo News. Follow him on X at Ryan O'Halloran, OHALLORAN. Ryan, it's David and Mark. How are you?
I'm good, guys. Good to join you again.
By the way, did you, because I spent 5 years in Fargo when you were growing up there. You lived in West Fargo, right?
Yes. Class of 93.
Oh, wow. So, did you have CBC on cable where you got Don Cherry? Because I used to.
No, it did not.
Oh, man. Because there's a buddy of mine in West Fargo who had it. Okay. And Mark, I'm telling you, there's a difference between West Fargo and Fargo. The big metropolis at the time, that was Fargo. And then there's West Fargo, which, by the way, is where the arena's at when they play the college hockey. That's where they play it. All right. How come everybody's picking the Ravens, Ryan?
Well, I think it's sort of a semi-recency bias. I mean, that Week 4 game was a Sunday night game. Derrick Henry runs 87-yard touchdown first play of the game, 35-10, nearly 300 yards rushing. And so I think they're going with the horses for courses angle, as if this is a bad matchup for the Bills, and it probably is. I'm going to end up picking the Bills just because of Josh Allen and the home field.
All right. If you had your choice and you could stop one, stopping Derrick Henry running the ball, stopping Lamar running the ball, what's more important for Buffalo?
I think it's going to be Henry because he is such a bulldozer, and he just sets everything up for them. Sets up the play action, sets up the quarterback keepers, sets up screens, and if you can get the Ravens into third and passing situations, that's the Bills' best hope, because what the Bills' defense has done better than anybody this year is take the ball away. They seize off turnovers. They're plus 100 points on points off takeaways compared to their opponent. So if you can slow down Henry, make them a little one-dimensional, I think that would benefit the Bills.
Best way to do it would be to get an early lead. All right. How important, we were talking hockey there about a minute ago. Mark and I are big hockey guys. The all-important first goal in hockey. Do you think it's important for the Bills to get off to a better start than they did last week?
100%, and in particular, a better start than they did back in Week 4. I mean, I don't think Sean McDermott would take the ball first if he wins the toss because he's a big double dip guy. But get a 7-0 lead, get the crowd charged up. They're going to be frozen anyways. Get them on their feet, and see if Baltimore will chase the game a little bit and get a little pass happy. And I think that's going to be a big in this game in particular because of what happened back in September.
How does Buffalo attack Baltimore? Baltimore's defense was suspect the first half of the season, but they've been playing much better. So when you look at Josh Allen and the Bills with the ball, how do you see them attacking Baltimore?
I mean, this has got to be a Josh Allen game. You look at the Ravens defense, first against the run, 31st against the pass. To me, that's your formula, is you got Amari Cooper in a trade from Cleveland for this game. You drafted Dalton Kincaid in the first round last year for this game. Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir. You have weapons on the perimeter to throw it. And maybe have a 6 pass protector to protect Allen. But also, I think Josh is looking at this game as, he showed a little bit last week. He's going to run it a lot. If they're playing man coverage and the first 2 reads aren't there, he's going to go. I like that matchup against any of the Ravens defenders. So, the wind isn't supposed to be a big factor on Sunday night. So that will help the passing game for both teams, but particularly the Bills.
Why has Josh this year, for the first time, not turned it over? Is it first full year with Joe Brady? Because, Brady took over a little past the midway point last year. I mean, why is it that he or you believe that this is the year where Josh, kind of like Favre, remember Favre was a turnover machine for a half dozen years, and then in the late 90s, he stopped turning it over. What happened?
Well, I think to play that position, you got to be a little hard-headed, but also you got to mature quickly. And I think last year showed Josh Allen, hey, the 16, 18 interceptions, that can't continue because you're losing games. This year, minus Stephon Diggs, he's throwing it to the open guy. He's not forcing it. He's not throwing into traffic. He will occasionally, but not as much as in previous years. So I think it's being smarter with the football. And to use a total cliche, he's taking the small profit, throwing a lot of checkdowns, throwing a lot of, sort of the slip screens to the receivers. So high percentage passes, let those guys do things after the catch.
I think Shakir has to have a big game. To me, which receiver has to step up the most to you? Because you look at Hamilton, their safety should be able to eliminate a lot of the stuff over the middle with the tight ends. I think a receiver's got to step up and have a big game for Josh Allen. Who is it?
I think it's going to be Khalil Shakir. He's a security blanket. He can do the short passes, do the shallow crosses, more of the deeper stuff. But this guy is a dynamo after the catch in terms of breaking tackles. And Cooper's presence on the outside does open things up in the middle for this Bills offense. But you're right with Hamilton; he is just a total force. So I would point to Khalil Shakir as a key receiver for the Bills.
Ryan O'Halloran, sports writer and columnist, The Buffalo News. Follow him on X at Ryan O'Halloran. How much pressure are the Bills facing? I mean, we all know they haven't been able to get over the hump. Only got to the AFC title game once during this terrific run. This is where the playoff dreams have gone to die for both these teams. But the last 2 years at home, the Bills have lost in the divisional round. How much pressure are they feeling?
Well, I'm waiting for Saturday that this is the biggest game in Sean McDermott's career. And I say that meaning if they lose, he's not going to get fired. But if they do lose, that's 4 straight years in the second round. Nobody's ever done that. It's 3 straight years at home in the second round. You're supposed to have this great home field advantage with the crowd and everything. You haven't been able to take advantage of it. So the pressure is on because, the window is going to be open here in Buffalo as long as Josh Allen is at the peak of his powers. But if they do lose, okay, then you have to do a total audit of the organization. Why is this happening? Why are you great in the regular season and then don't play well in the second round of the playoffs? So, it's not, people want to say it's Super Bowl or bust. Well, what's the bust part if they don't make it? So it is definitely, it's a huge game for Sean McDermott in particular.
Would he be, the way, and I'm with you, he's not getting fired, but would that if they lose, does that put him on the hot seat to start next year?
It should, I think. It depends on how they lose on Sunday night. We look at 2 years ago, Cincinnati dominated them. Look at last year, they had Kansas City on the ropes a couple times, couldn't finish the game. So it would create a lot of I think it would create a lot of external heat on Sean going into next year, even though his contract is many years remaining. But it's you are, every time you don't make it to the AFC title game and don't make it to the Super Bowl, you're wasting a year of one of the best quarterbacks' prime.
We have been surprised by how the Bills' defense has played this year. We thought when Baltimore whacked them in week 4 that was going to be the beginning of other teams exposing them. And obviously that hasn't been the case. Why has this defense performed much better than most, especially us, thought they were going to be able to?
Well, I think I go back to the takeaways because that's been the great equalizer. Because you look at their numbers, they're 12th against the run, they're 24th against the pass, they're 29th on third down. Okay, 16th in the red zone. So they're just average in all those numbers, but they tend to get sacks at big times, and and they obviously get a lot of turnovers. Guy Greg Rousseau is going to be a big player for them on Sunday night, but they brought in a couple of veteran defensive linemen mid-season, Jordan Phillips and Quentin Jefferson, interior guys to play the run. So they have improved against the run a little bit, but I go back, it's a cliche, but I mean, you win a turnover deal in this league, you're going to win most of the time, and that's what this defense is thrived on.
Ryan, stay warm, safe travels. Thanks for spending time with us.
All right, fellas, take care now.
Ryan O'Halloran, Buffalo News, talking some Bills before the Bills-Ravens game. So if I told you right now the Ravens play a turnover-free game, who you picking?
The Ravens.
If I
I'm
tell
picking the
you that,
Ravens. If the turnovers are even, David, I
Right.
think if it's a even turnover game, I think the Ravens win.
okay. I will say when they played in week 4, I think it was, the Ravens, I think, had 14 plays of 10 or more yards, and Buffalo had only 4. But, it's a regular season. Stuff happens during the regular season. We all know that.
Josh wasn't good in that game.
No, he
Threw
wasn't.
for under 200 yards, was, very pedestrian with his numbers in that game. And I think that Ryan's correct. This has to be a Josh Allen game if Buffalo's going to win it.
Cordell Woodland will join us in about an hour and a half, and we'll tackle this game from the Ravens' perspective. It's funny that he mentioned if you're the Bills, do you take the ball? And that Sean McDermott doesn't like to. He likes to have last possession, first half, first possession, second half. Double dip, as he called it. But I think a lead in this game goes a long way, because what's the best way to take Derrick Henry out of the game? Get up 2 scores. That's the best way to take Derrick Henry out of the game.
And that is, you're right, David, but that is the ultimate test for Baltimore. If they get down by 10 or more points, can they stick with the running game, where oftentimes they haven't, and they've panicked a bit early and get away from what they do best, which is running the football. So I'll be interested if Moncton in that situation does deviate from giving Henry the ball, because as different games, but we've pointed out many times in other football games how teams quit running the ball when it is just a 2-score game.
Todd Monken got away from the run last year when they fell behind 10-0 against the Chiefs, and it cost them dearly. And that was a close game throughout. They could have kept running the ball, and instead they had Lamar chuck it all over the lot. And I think if you're a Buffalo fan, don't you want to see Lamar throwing the ball 35 plus times?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm packing 8 in the box. I'm making him beat me. I'm playing man, and I'm making him beat me with those receivers. I want to see how healthy Zay Flowers is. 100%. Just trying to figure out how much of a problem those tight ends are going to be for Buffalo.
And I'm not doing this to drive a Bills fan nuts, but, there's a bunch of great hypotheticals in sports and life. How much different would it have been for the Bills if Norwood had made the field goal? Like, do you think they lose all of the next 3, or do you actually think that they would have won one of those 3 or more even? And that the wait every year, okay, 13 seconds. Ryan talked about this would be 4th year in a row losing the divisional round. Well, the first one was the 13-second game. They win that. They host the Bengals for the AFC title. I mean, that's why Sean McDermott and this franchise are still trying to overcome 13 seconds. Mark, how different do you think it would have been for the Bills? We'd never know. It's a hypothetical. But if they win that game and they're hosting the Bengals the next week for the AFC title, after having just gone to the AFC title game the year earlier and lost to Kansas City, and now they beat them.
David, I think it's everything for that franchise. It's haunted them from the moment that it's happened. It's haunted the coach. It's haunted the quarterback. It's haunted the city. And the curse or the gray cloud that's been over the Buffalo Bills franchise of not winning the final game and now not being able to get to the final game, I think that's still there because of the 13 seconds. And I think it adds a tremendous amount of pressure on this team.
It's a fascinating game for both quarterbacks, for both franchises. This reminds me a lot we had a few years in the mid-90s in the NFC where you had the Cowboys and you had the Niners, and here came the Packers. Favre, Holmgren, and the Packers, and here they come. Here they come. And Mark, you think about, Green Bay, the one year, I think it was 95. They beat San Francisco, couldn't then follow it up and also beat Dallas. I mean, you even wonder the winner of this game, mean, think about that, by the way. Like, just say if you're the Bills, you got to beat the Ravens and the Chiefs back-to-back weeks. You're the Ravens, you got to do both on the road? Huh. Tell me, if one of these two teams gets to the Super Bowl, tell me they won't think, oh, hell, whoever we're playing, yeah, they're a good
Detroit,
team.
Philadelphia, whatever.
I mean, they're not what we just went through.
Now we get to do it in the dome inside. We just got
Right.
done going to Buffalo and winning. We got to go into, or we just beat Baltimore at home and then went to Kansas City. Yeah, either way, they're going to think they're rather invincible. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were not invincible. They did not win against the Washington Commanders. We will wrap up their season with Roy Cummings next.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
A new year is here, and with it comes new beginnings and new opportunities. At the Diamond District, Jason and Todd are inspired by the possibilities ahead. Whether you're celebrating a new love, renewing a commitment, or making a milestone, make it magical with a diamond from the Diamond District. Jason and Todd look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com. Do you have a sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Hey.
Hey.
Morning, Roy.
How we doing?
Doing
Who?
great.
What broadcaster? What broadcaster's call was hey?
Wasn't it, hey, what do you say?
No.
Hey.
I'll give you a bigger hint. Back.
That was
Back. Hey! Home run!
Was that Harry? Or
The
was
man
it
who preceded
Brickhouse?
him,
Brickhouse?
Jack Brickhouse. He was the one I mostly grew up with. Obviously 60s, 70s, but I didn't like Harry when he first came. He came from the Cardinals.
Right.
Can't have that.
I remembered the Kerry Wood one-hitter.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Harry was still alive. I think it was the next
Oh.
offseason that he had the stroke. But so Harry's doing the game with Stone.
Yeah.
And I'm watching it, and I'm in North Dakota, and I'm watching it. And in the late innings, I might have been Stone. They said that Jack Brickhouse called in during a commercial and said, "This is the best pitching performance I've ever seen."
Yes, I remember that. Yeah,
I
now
do
that you
too.
say that, I do remember that. Yeah, because I remember watching that game too. Yeah. Incredible game. Yeah, he is Cubs lore, Cubs royalty. There's a statue of him just across the street from the Tribune building on Michigan Avenue, just before you get to the river in Chicago. Not out front of Wrigley, unfortunately, but
I've never been. I got chastised. I went to the Notre Dame Penn State game with one of my wife's coworkers who's a big Chicago guy.
yeah.
And he's a baseball guy. And we knew each other a little bit, but the drive over, we're talking nonstop. And when I told him I'd never been to Wrigley, he stopped talking for about 5 minutes.
Well, put it on your bucket list.
I will. It is.
It is, and actually, if you get the chance, carve out 3 days, go to a couple of games, and make sure you go early and just experience the park. It is something special.
Only been once.
Make going a second time put that on your bucket list.
It's been a long time, too.
Yeah.
And I have a soft spot for the Cubs because of WGN, running home as a kid and watching games. It's
Yes. Somebody put out on Twitter the other day a picture of, it was Harry Carey and Steve Stone on WGN, and it was just kind of like, boy, I'd love to see this one more
I wouldn't
time.
give for one more time.
Yes,
Right.
he saw it too.
It was Super 70 Sports.
Yes, that's it.
Yep.
Yeah. I gave it a like and a retweet.
I'll never forget the day Schmidt hit 4 home runs and he's hit 3 of them, and he comes up again and Harry goes, "Ah, here he comes."
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Joined for the final time this season by Roy Cummings. He covers the Bucs for us. Art Cummings, FHCN. He joins us once again on the American Paint Supplies Hotline, your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. I think we all thought we were going to get at least one more week out of you, but live by Baker, die by Baker, and the Bucs screwed it up.
Yeah, I did too. I thought for sure. Well, I wouldn't say I thought for sure, because exactly what happened is what worried me. The Bucs are kind of dependent on Baker, and if he makes one mistake, whether it's with a pass or in this case, kind of a botched handoff or fumble, the defense just didn't have a stop in it, and that was what bothered me. I remember I told you guys last week I thought the Bucs would take this approach of, let the Commanders go, 14 plays downfield. I didn't think it would, and hope that they make a mistake somewhere along the line in that kind of a drive. The offense is going to make a mistake, and you'll hold them to a field goal or get off the field. And it didn't work. They just could not get anybody off the field. And I'll tell you what, we saw the emergence in Jaden Daniels of an incredibly talented young quarterback. I don't know what's in the future for this kid, but it could be something special. And, the Bucs saw it firsthand and had no answer for it.
There's no doubt. And you brought it up, the one turnover. And the botched fumble late in the game didn't help things. But the fumble that
Right.
they lost, we talked about it going into the game. The Bucs were lousy all year at takeaways. It was not their strong point. Washington was only a little better. But when you really break this game down, it's as simple as that the Bucs turned the damn thing over.
It really is, again, because you're just when you can't get a stop defensively, and even if your special teams are somewhat suspect, which they are, you have to be perfect offensively. You can't make a mistake, and that mistake can be anything. It's not just a fumble; it can be an offsides penalty or any kind of a penalty that takes away yards that you've gained. You just can't afford to have those mistakes on the other side of the ball, and that's where the Bucs became. They became so reliant on Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans and the offense being, in essence, perfect, that they could get into some kind of, whether it's a big time shootout, where it's 40 points apiece, or even a mild shootout like this one where nobody's stopping anybody. You just can't make a mistake, and I think it's pretty clear going forward what the Bucs have to do to rectify this. They've got to get a little bit deeper offensively, obviously, in some spots. Mike Evans isn't going to last much longer, but clearly they've got to get inside linebackers, outside linebackers, and secondary.
Before we go forward, I just want to go back a little bit. The Commanders held the ball for so long that the Bucs only ran 44 plays, but they ran the ball 25 times. I mean, they didn't abandon the run. They weren't nearly as good doing it as we thought. They barely had 100 yards rushing. I mean, that also failed them a little bit. We thought they were going to run it down their throat, set up play action, and Baker was going to tear them apart.
Yeah, I was a little concerned going in, and I just kind of thought about this privately. I didn't mention it at any point, but I was a little concerned that, you look at what Bucky Irving did all season long, and it was spectacular. It was special. But at the end of the day, he probably got a little banged up and a little tired there at the end. With the running backs they have, I would have leaned a little bit more on Rachaad White in that game and, thrown a couple of screens out in the flat to him, let him run outside a little bit. I would have used Rachaad White a little bit more and probably Sean Tucker on a drive or two, just because I was afraid that maybe Bucky Irving wasn't going to be as strong this time around as he had been. First playoff game for a rookie. I think, that's a tough spot. I'm sure he was a bit nervous. For me, I would have mixed it up a little bit more at the running back spot. And, again, I would have, just come up with some plays, I think, that just get the ball in the hands of the playmakers. Again, I think they abandoned the screen game just a little bit, here. I would have used that a little bit more. Again, just to kind of get some things going here and not leaning on the guys that you lean on so much. Maybe use some of the other spare parts a little bit more.
Just 3 touches for Rachaad White and only 1 carry. He's Roy Cummings. He joins us once again talking the Bucs on the American Paint Supplies Hotline.
And Roy, this is not Miller and Moulton saying this, but we have a lot of Bucs fans that are listening. You read it. I don't think you've written anything close to it. But now all of a sudden people are coming out on Todd Bowles. I'm not sure exactly why. I don't like it at all. He's only had 2 different offensive coordinators in back-to-back years that he didn't know have done a tremendous job with the offense. As you've pointed out, the defense is lacking personnel. I don't know if it's execution from Bowles, who's a defensive guy, but they don't have a pass rush, so he has to blitz. But all of this talk of Bowles being under the hot seat, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's kind of ridiculous myself. Look, I don't think Todd Bowles is an elite head coach. Can you do better? Perhaps. But you can also do a heck of a lot worse. And I think he's done a good job of letting the offense run the offense, and he takes care of the defense. We know what he's going to bring. They're at a point now, and I've mentioned this before, guys. The Bucs are at a point now where they know exactly what it is that Todd Bowles wants in his defensive players, whether it's an end, a linebacker, a safety, whatever it is. They know exactly what he needs. That should make it easier to draft and get the players that you need to kind of fix this defense. I don't think Todd Bowles is a bad head coach. I think he's solid. I think he did a good job this year. Let's not forget, a year ago, he did it with a new offensive coordinator and a new quarterback. This year, he did it with a new offensive coordinator and a quarterback that a lot of people still didn't believe in until halfway through the season, and with a rookie running back. They got the offense balanced. They fought through incredible amount of injuries, and as you pointed out, they got to the playoffs with a defense that, let's face it, isn't all that good. It just doesn't have that great personnel. You don't have a dominant player on there. Levante David is arguably, well, Vita Vea is your star. But when your star is, a nose tackle, you got some issues. Stars on defense, usually linebackers, rush ends, and somebody in the secondary who takes the ball away half a dozen times a year or more. So they don't have any of that. And the injuries in the secondary really, really hurt them. But they made it to the playoffs. They were within a botched handoff, obviously, of possibly winning a game and going in another round. I think you stick with what you got. Somehow find a way to keep Liam Cohen around, because he seems to be a superb offensive coordinator. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm not in that camp that you get rid of Todd Bowles. I think you can do better, but I'm not in the camp that you get rid of him at this point. Not by any stretch.
Would you go defense first, second, third round pick, though? Are you to that point where you're confident enough that I know what I have on offense? Yeah, I need to start bringing in more younger guys, strictly at receiver, but defensively, we're not good enough. I got to do whatever I can on that side of the ball. My young guys in the secondary keep getting hurt. I got an old linebacker, and I got a defensive line outside of one guy who either isn't good enough or can't stay healthy. They need more bodies.
Yeah, they do. And again, they're probably going to be a little bit limited in free agency, so they may have a hard time getting those pieces there, because the pieces they need are the ones that cost you a lot of money. So, yeah, I do think they need a receiver, but, you got to go by the board, whatever the board says. If the board shows that it, wherever they are, 18th, 20th, whatever they're going to be, that a receiver's your best pick, then they go ahead and get him, because you're going to need him. But, I'm seeing talk now about Benjamin Morrison for Notre Dame. So if you're a Bucs fan, watch that kid closely during the championship game on Monday. He could be a Buccaneer. He's a cornerback who can plays a lot of man coverage, can go deep, can play outside, inside. So that's somebody to look at. And again, look at the linebackers. I think you're getting more out of Levante David now than you ever thought you could get at this point. And he's still the best you've got. I'd hold on to him just because I think you need him in case you don't find somebody else. But yeah, when you said, did you go defense first, second, third round? I'm like, yeah, first, second, and third round, if that's how the board falls, because I think they need help everywhere.
We had a texter asked a question, and just on the backup quarterback, where you see Kyle Trask next year? Is he still part of the Bucs' future plans?
Yeah, and I say that he is, because he's accepted his role. He knows where he is. If the contract doesn't work, okay, move on. But I wouldn't want to see the Bucs have to waste money on a new quarterback, or spend a draft pick on somebody who's going to be a backup. Your starter is Baker Mayfield, and I know Kyle Trask wants to go somewhere, but where does Kyle Trask right now think he's going to go where he's going to beat somebody out? Maybe he gets an opportunity somewhere, maybe like in Cleveland or something like that, but I don't really think he's going to find a much better situation. He's in a good spot here. The Bucs, if he can continue to, just embrace the position he's in, I think he'll benefit from it in the long run.
Roy Cummings, talking Bucs, another playoff appearance, another division title. By the way, 3 coaches have won 3 or more consecutive division titles. Andy Reid, McDermott in Buffalo, and Todd Bowles. That's who, Mark, you're alluding to. Bucs fans want to get rid of him. They don't like him. Okay, they think they can do better, and they want to get rid of him. But he has won 3 straight division titles, and he's won 1 more game each regular season along the way, too. But he's a bum. He needs to be replaced. There's no doubt. All right. We'll give you a couple months. When free agency starts, it'll be spring training. You won't be paying any attention to football, but we'll reel you in somewhere between spring training and the draft.
That works.
All right. I got one more for you, though, Roy. It's not a Bucs question.
Okay.
86.5 is the over-under on your beloved Cubs this year.
Yeah.
Are you willing to go over 86.5 wins?
I am willing to go over. I am. I'm saying 87, 88, 89. I don't know if they get to 90, but they're going to be really close to it.
Mark, I can't believe you asked Roy Cummings a glass half
believe.
full,
Right.
a glass
half
half full, glass
Right.
half empty question, and he went glass half full, and
I
you're shocked.
believe, gentlemen. I believe.
Oh, look at him.
I
Look at
believe.
him. He's waving his Cubs gear at us on Twitch if you're not watching. Roy, thanks for everything. All the best to you and the family. We'll talk again in a couple.
All right, guys. Take care.
Roy Cummings, R. Cummings FHCN is how you follow him on X. All right. The Blackhawks are going to occupy his time until his Cubs start.
I don't even know if he might be jumping into the hot stove league getting ready for spring training because the Blackhawks don't offer a whole hell of a lot.
No, they don't. But I just, killing time. But Roy's a good guy. He's been great to us for 20 years. Nice to talk to him once again. Cordell Woodland covers the Ravens. He will join us in about 25 minutes' time here on Miller and Moulton. Our Swamp Buggy Races poll question between the Rams, the Commanders, and the Texans. Which one is the best shot at the upset? Miller and Moulton would like to thank the sponsors that, quite frankly, saved the show in 2024. Whether it was Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Molly Maid, Cigar Bar, Sleep Treatment Direct, the Diamond District, and even the Cape Coral Police Department, thank you. We're hopeful of a great 2025, still needing sponsors, so reach out to Miller and Moulton via X at that Mark Miller or the David Moulton, or text us at 21,000. But Miller and Moulton says thank you to our sponsors and to you, our loyal listeners.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
A new year is here, and with it comes new beginnings and new opportunities. At the Diamond District, Jason and Todd are inspired by the possibilities ahead. Whether you're celebrating a new love, renewing a commitment, or making a milestone, make it magical with a diamond from the Diamond District. Jason and Todd look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
Miller and Moulton would like to thank the sponsors that, quite frankly, saved the show in 2024. Whether it was Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Molly Maid, Cigar Bar, Sleep Treatment Direct, the Diamond District, and even the Cape Coral Police Department, thank you. We're hopeful of a great 2025, still needing sponsors, so reach out to Miller and Moulton via X at that Mark Miller or the David Moulton, or text us at 21,000. But Miller and Moulton says thank you to our sponsors and to you, our loyal listeners.
This is Miller and Moulton.
You're not here yet, Paula? What the hell? How many days does it take you to get down here? Get in the left lane, set that cruise on 77, and rip it. Did you bring any Kogel hot dogs with you, Paula? Atta girl, Paula. Give him hell. So that makes you what, about Covington, Kentucky, somewhere around there, day one? That used to be in the 55-mile-per-hour days. It was get past Cincinnati, Covington the first day, get into Florida the second day, and then finish it up the third. But that's so long ago. I-75 ended in Tampa, I believe, or thereabouts.
Oh my God, Richmond, Kentucky. That's where I was over the weekend. It's home of Eastern Kentucky University. It's I-75, baby. About 20 miles south of Lexington.
I love when our guests all retweet that they're on the show, especially our first time and second time guests, which both Ryan and Cordell did. I've got TGL numbers.
Okay.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Cordell Woodland, who covers the Ravens, will join us in a little more than 15 minutes' time. We're talking and looking ahead to the weekend's games, because let's face it, we've got 7 NFL games left, and 4 of them are this weekend. But we waited until the second part of the week to do so. Primary focus on the Ravens and the Bills, the heavyweight matchup. Pat Kerwin will join us tomorrow. Bud Elliott will also join us tomorrow as we begin looking ahead to the Natty on Monday between Ohio State and Notre Dame.
David, I've got some numbers for you. I know we've talked football primarily on the show, and we'll get back to doing so rather quickly. But the second TGL event was on Tuesday.
Right.
Tiger Woods was playing on Tuesday. It was 2 hours earlier. Without the hype, do you think it did the same, better, or worse than TGL 1? For those of you that don't know, this is the Tomorrow Golf League, owned by Tiger and Rory. Big-time ownership with the teams, including a bunch of MLB owners and Major League in football and others that own these teams. But Tiger's team played on Tuesday night. It was a 7 p.m. ESPN start.
What did it do? 912,000, something like that for week one?
You're right on it, like 919. But yes, you're right on it.
So basically over or under week one, it's Tiger Woods. I'll say over.
And it was over. by about 100,000. It drew over 1 million viewers for the broadcast. Now, what it went against sports-wise was Cavs Pacers on TNT. When you combine, because TNT and True TV simulcast the game, when you combine those two numbers, it is slightly, ever so slightly better than the TGL. And I mean by a
smidge.
Yeah.
Well, you tell me. I mean, if you're TGL, you doing okay? You went up week 2 to week 1. You know.
I think so. I think doing $1 million a week for this is fantastic. I really do. I could be wrong with that, and they may have higher expectations, but I think these numbers are tremendous for Top Golf meets Pop Stroke.
We think it's also tremendous for this reason. A normal college basketball game doesn't do $1 million on ESPN or ESPN2. It doesn't. In fact, sometimes it does half that. But many a college basketball game, as great as the SEC basketball has been so far this year, like, I'll be curious if we can find out by tomorrow how many people watched Kansas, Iowa State last night. It's the Jayhawks, their basketball royalty, and both teams in the top 10. And the game was played early. So I'm curious how it did. I'm willing to bet.
Middle America, it's not Duke. It's Kansas is royalty, but it's not Duke. It's
I
not
understand.
UConn, if you know what I mean. It's because of the part of the world that they're in.
I was going to say, I'm willing to bet right now that Kansas, Iowa State did not do the TGL Tuesday night.
Hell no.
Well,
David, if it did 750,000, I'd be impressed. I really would. It's Iowa State.
So if I'm ESPN, I mean, maybe the golf folks want higher ratings. They want more. Now, we had the big debut, which they hyped them out of. We had Tiger. Now, they don't have much more to offer. They could make the product better. But as you said, to you, it's a combination Top Golf and Pop Stroke. And I throw in a little Golden Tee. I think it's all three. I mean, can they get $1 million? Listen, Mark, we've got a lot of people who have been pounding the table for years now about spring football. All right.
Led by one David Moulton.
And yeah, I have at times. And the UFL now, the two leagues have combined. They're one. It's the UFL. Let me tell you, they're doing about $1 million a game, and they are thrilled. Thrilled. And you could argue, well, it's the off season, it's different, it's on the weekends. Hey, it's video game golf.
They're hitting the ball into a movie screen and then putting on a simulated green that changes each hole, which the green itself and how it's made up, mechanically, it's amazing. The technology of the technology that's in this is fantastic. They're ecstatic over selling out their venue twice in a row. I'm sorry, TGL Golf. If you're in Palm Beach, Florida, West Palm Beach, and you can't put 1,500 people in a golf event, well, then my goodness, you've really done something wrong.
Oh, never mind the fact that how many are freebies.
Most.
Yeah, I was going to say, Mark, you've been involved in this. You know how it works. Sponsors get so many tickets and this, that, and the other thing. I mean, I doubt strongly that 1,000 people paid to go watch.
I was thinking 500 tickets available for this thing, to the actual public, if you will.
Right. So, but okay. All right. Hey, at least it did better.
And they haven't yet had they haven't had a match that's been worth watching from a golf standpoint. They've been 2 blowouts. If you're actually interested in the results.
But okay. So it's got a chance. It's got a chance. All right. It's doing as well or better than its competition. So, okay. Tell you what, though, if I'm the NBA, that scares the out of me. I mean, we're barely beating TGL.
We'll see now. Week 3, no Tiger, no debut. I'm guessing Rory's got to play here sooner or later, but Rory's not the draw Tiger is. We'll see. The golf people that I know are not interested, but they're older. Okay. I don't know if it's drawing that young golf fan or the new golf fan, if you will.
Right. Miller and Moulton. Our Swamp Buggy Races poll question. Go to swampbuggy.com, by the way, and buy your tickets. Not this weekend, next. Parade on Saturday the 25th, Florida Sports Park, Naples. And then Sunday the 26th, the races get underway around noon. Go to swampbuggy.com and get your tickets. But since the Bills-Ravens is basically a pick'em, you got 3 games where you have a favorite and an underdog. So which underdog do you give the best shot? Houston, Washington, or the Rams? That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X. Vote accordingly. Rams getting nearly half the vote. But there's a healthy contingent of folks who are on the Jaden Daniels bandwagon.
But yes, most of you believing it's the Rams with the best shot to pull off the upset. I agree. I don't see a rookie quarterback winning 2 road games in a row in the postseason. And I just don't think Houston has enough offense to go into Kansas City and score the points necessary to win that game.
And it's not just because I'm going to be there, but man, oh man, I would love for Houston to give KC a game. I mean, they've hardly ever done it in their brief history here when they've gotten to the divisional round. You know, they had the one crazy game against Kansas City with Bill O'Brien where they jumped out to a 24-0 lead and then got blown out. They lost like 50-something to 31 after having a 24-0 lead. But otherwise, the Texans have gotten off to bad starts and they've been overwhelmed in the second round of the playoffs.
Is there anything that they did defensively last week that they can emulate doing against Kansas City?
Well, in theory, Will Anderson had a big game. Kansas City's tackles can't block. I mean, that's, to me, if you're gonna have a chance of an upset, Mark, you got to win the line of scrimmage, at least on one side of the ball. Miller and Moulton. Cordell Woodland. He covers the Ravens. We'll talk more Bills-Ravens next.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
Sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
The world-famous cigar bar started as a neighborhood place in downtown Fort Myers, and now it's a brand, a destination, with 4 locations. The original place, Henry Street, Fort Myers, Gulf Coast Town Center, on Southeast 47th Terrace off the Cape Coral Parkway, and the Lounge on West 1st Street in Fort Myers. A place to go, whether you just need a relaxing drink and a smoke after a tough day at work, or a place to go celebrate. From relaxation to celebration, the world-famous cigar bar.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Swamp buggy races are some of the best people watching in North America. The whole thing, everything about it is worthy. And I don't even mean it in a bad way. It's just it's been years since I was there. I had a fun day. Did you have another power surge, or did you just lose internet this morning?
I think it was an internet glitch. It came back in a couple minutes, but I switched to my MiFi, and I'm not switching back.
Cordell is on.
Yeah, what's that place? 69. It's in a strip mall. It was Andy Reid's favorite place.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour when the Diamond District bonus hour takes over. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Well, last hour, we checked in with Buffalo News columnist Ryan O'Halloran. Right now, we're lucky to have Cordell Woodland. He talks Ravens and Orioles for a living on 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore. He hosts some shows there as well. You can follow Cordell on X at Cordell Woodland, Woodland. Cordell, it's David and Mark. Good morning. Thanks for doing this. How are you?
Not bad. Appreciate you guys having me.
Well, it is our pleasure. And Cordell joining us once again on the American Paint Supplies Hotline, your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. Why is it going to be different for the Ravens this time around in this round of the playoffs on the road?
You know, it's funny. I kind of talked about this a little bit on my show last night about, you know, the biggest difference from last year when the Ravens lost in the AFC Championship game to this year. This postseason run is Derrick Henry. And that's a pretty big difference, both literally and figuratively. But their run game is unstoppable right now. And look, you could say that about the past Ravens teams as well. They've been a historically great rush offense, especially in the Lamar Jackson era. But they haven't had a guy like Derrick Henry in the backfield with Lamar. Lamar's been the team's leading rusher every year of his career as a starter. So, you know, that's a dangerous game to play, even with somebody as great as Lamar, because as you get into the postseason, you need somebody else to be able to carry that load. And right now, they have that guy in Derrick Henry. So I think with the way that they're running the ball right now, I think it's going to be tough for anybody to stop this team.
Should the Bills be able to, put 8 in the box and really do everything they can to try to stop Henry early, will Moncton be patient enough to stick with the run, even though passing options may be there?
I think so. I think so. At this point, they've gotten a big enough sample size with Derrick Henry to understand what needs to happen for them to be successful with him. If you look at the Ravens this year, every game that Derrick Henry has had 20-plus carries in, not only has he had 100 yards in those games, and at least 100 yards in those games, I should say, and probably close to about 15 touchdowns on the year. They have just been dominant in those games. So I think that they know how teams want to play them. They know teams are going to attempt to stop the run. Unfortunately for Buffalo, the last time that they played the Ravens, Derrick Henry ran for 200 yards in that game. Now, granted, there was no Teron Johnson, there was no Matt Milano, but those aren't 300-pound guys that are stuffing the run. The Bills are one of the lighter teams on the defensive side of the ball that the Ravens have faced, and I think it's a poor matchup. But assuming that they are able to slow down Derrick Henry, Lamar led the league in passer rating this year. I mean, they have other options they can go to. Now, unfortunately, they may be without Zay Flowers again, their leading receiver, and that'll be a big blow. But the good thing is Rashad Bateman's had a career year. Mark Andrews has been outstanding. Isaiah Likely's been great. Even Justice Hill has been really good for them out of the backfield. So they do have other options to sustain a powerful offense.
Cordell Woodland, 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore. Follow him on X at Cordell Woodland, Woodland. We haven't said this very much during this really 25-year run for the Ravens, but is their defense good enough? I mean, second to last against the pass? I mean, Josh Allen, Amari Cooper, all the receivers that he's thrown touchdowns to? I mean, can the D hold up their end of this deal?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. This has been a Jekyll and Hyde defense this year, and to their credit, the team that they were in the first half of the season, they aren't that defense right now. They started the year as one of the worst defenses in the league, as the worst pass defense in the league, but they made some adjustments. They brought in Dean Pease, a former Ravens defensive coordinator, who's now a senior advisor to help out Zach Orr, who's the rookie defensive coordinator right now for the team. And the ironic thing is Dean Pease coached Zach Orr when Zach Orr was a player in Baltimore. So that's kind of worked out. They also made some personnel changes. Marcus Williams, who was their big-time free agent signing a couple of years ago at safety, he's out. He got benched, and he's been a healthy scratch every week. That looks like they're headed to a divorce this offseason. But Ardarius Washington has been a godsend for the Ravens this year, back there with Kyle Hamilton, and even moving Hamilton from kind of that nickel hybrid linebacker safety spot. He's been playing more on the back end. So that has kind of limited a lot of those big splash plays that they were giving up in the past game, and it's forced offenses, I should say, to kind of walk up the field. They also made some changes at linebacker as well. So the numbers will be a little skewed. But if you go back over the last 2 months, maybe 2.5 months, this has been a top 10 defense in the NFL, and they've been playing like it each and every week. Obviously, they'll have their hands full this week in Buffalo. It'll be a huge test. I expect both offenses to have a big day in this one.
What is the way to slow down Josh Allen's legs? I see where Hamilton can take the tight ends out of the game. I think Shakir's got to have a big game for the Bills in the throwing game, but taking away Allen running the ball, how do the Ravens do that?
Yeah, I mean, they've got to be disciplined. Thankfully for the Ravens, they have a guy in Lamar Jackson on their team that they get to see every day. And it's, in my opinion, I don't think there's anybody better than Lamar Jackson in terms of running the ball, and him being the all-time leading rusher for quarterbacks says that. But Josh is a unique threat in his own right. He's bigger than Lamar, and he uses his legs almost just as well. And Josh is, unlike Lamar, he's not looking to run around you. He's looking to run through you most times. But I will say, both with Josh and Lamar this year, they've done a really good job of scrambling to throw. Early in their career, they're looking to run and take off. But this year, when they're extending plays, they're looking to throw the ball down the field. But all you can do is try to be disciplined in your rush lanes, contain as best as you can, not let them get outside, and make sure you're covering on the back end. I talked to Kyle Hamilton yesterday about defending the second, third, and even fourth play with Buffalo, because you look at that touchdown pass Josh Allen threw to Todd Johnson in the wild card round. I mean, it felt like that play went on forever. And it's the threat of his legs that helped create that. So I think the Ravens understand the task at hand. They're going to be as disciplined as possible. But the big thing is you have to tackle him in space, because he's really good at breaking tackles.
Cordell, how much pressure? I asked this of Ryan Halloran last hour. Do the Bills feel, this is their round where they go out, and this is the round, Lamar doesn't win 2 playoff games in a row. He's never done it. I don't think they've gone on the road and won a playoff game under Lamar. How much pressure do the Ravens, and Lamar specifically, feel for this game?
Yeah, I mean, well, I will say they did go on the road and beat Tennessee. I want to say in 2020, they beat the Titans in the wild card round, and then lost to Buffalo in the divisional round. But yeah, I mean, that's the big question out here, and everywhere around Lamar's. Can he and these guys get it done this time of year? I think last week they probably had more pressure on them because they're playing Pittsburgh, and even though Pittsburgh's not a really good team this year, especially on the back end of the season, it's the history. It's been a lot of crazy things to happen in that rivalry. So even though the Ravens are head and shoulders more talented than Pittsburgh, it hasn't stopped them from losing games to the Steelers in the past. And I think it would have been a very bad fallout from that had they lost that game at home. So I think last week they had more pressure. This week, John Harbaugh seems very loose, light. So do the players. I think that, while they definitely want to win this game, and a lot of people are looking for them to win this game, they're favorites on the road. Going to Buffalo, where Buffalo hasn't lost a game all year at home. So I don't know if there's a ton of pressure on them, but they do want to get it done. I think they're tired of flaming out this time of year. Lamar's tired of hearing the same old playoff stuff every year. They have Derrick Henry now. They feel like they're equipped to make a deep run at this thing.
Forever, if it came down to a field goal, you trusted the Ravens. Do we still trust Tucker to make the big kick?
You know, that's a good question, and a question that maybe we didn't think we'd ever have to answer.
Right.
But I think right now, I would say yes. Tucker, really, since the Week 14 bye week, has been perfect. Granted, he hasn't been put in a lot of high-pressure situations, and that's a credit to how good this offense has been. But right now, I'd have to say, yeah. I mean, you know, Tucker hasn't missed a kick in a while, and I think he's locked in right now, and I think he is kind of waiting for his number to be called in a pivotal spot in one of these games. So, look, the weather conditions will be a big factor out in Buffalo, so you got to take that into account as well. But, you know, Tucker, before his struggles this year, was labeled the greatest, you know, the best kicker of all time. So I think in his mind, he still believes that that's what he is, and John Harbaugh and those guys still trust him. They'll trot him out there. I'd have to believe that Tucker will be ready when his number's called.
Can the Ravens win if they fall behind? Do you think that Lamar's development in the passing game and that they're different now? You know, last year they fell behind against the Chiefs. They were a mess. They fall behind 10-0. Let's just say it's 10-0 Buffalo, start of the second quarter, Ravens ball. Are they in trouble or are they still okay?
Oh, well, I'll say this. They shouldn't be in trouble because 10-0 in the second quarter, you could still stick to your game plan. You could still run the ball. And that's what got them in trouble last year is they panicked, John Harbaugh included. They panicked. They were never, ever out of that game against the Chiefs until it was actually over. But yet you wouldn't know that by watching that game and the way that they called plays offensively. This year, you know, assuming it's 10-0, now make no mistake about it. A lot of people out here will say, you know, they get down 10-0 to start the second quarter. That people are definitely going to have their antennas up for sure. But I do think, again, Derrick Henry allows you to kind of stay composed as a play caller. I said when the Ravens signed Derrick Henry that he's brought here to kind of save John Harbaugh from himself. Because last year the Ravens didn't even give their running backs 10 carries in the AFC Championship game. There's no way that's going to happen this time around. So I think that they are able to, you know, come back because Lamar's been so good as a passer and he's played, you know, so composed this year. You haven't really seen Lamar rattled or sped up much this year. And again, Derrick Henry changes a lot. But if they do have to get away from the run game, sure, you know, anybody's in trouble this time of year if you have to become one-dimensional. I don't think the Ravens are any different from that, but I do think they're better equipped this year to come from behind in years past.
Cordell, thanks for making time for us. We appreciate it. Safe travels, stay warm, and hopefully we can talk again down the road.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Cordell Woodland covers the Ravens and Orioles. And Mark, you'd be proud of me. I wanted to ask him an Orioles question. Why they haven't done anything really this offseason. Okay. But
they've gotten worse, haven't they?
Well, yeah. I mean, they lost Burns.
Right.
And, you know, the cosmetic signings here and there, you know, but I don't think they're better. But I didn't. I stayed away. I figured we could hit him up in March. He'll be in a good mood. He'll be in Florida. It'll be a lot warmer. By the way, Cordell Woodland, 105.7 The Fan, Baltimore, joining us on the American Paint Supplies hotline. Ravens not practicing outdoors this week.
No, they're trying to make it as cold as they can in their indoor facility, but Harbaugh saying the fields were frozen.
Right.
It wasn't worth practicing outside on those fields.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Figure something out. Okay. You know, how much money you guys got? I mean, unfreeze the field. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying it's going to be cheap. We're going to Buffalo in mid to late January. It's going to be 8 degrees and windy and snowing. I need to practice outdoors.
So you think that's a big deal?
I don't.
Or you think it's a deal?
I don't think it's helping the Ravens' preparation. I don't. I'd feel a lot better if they could practice outdoors. You know, and yes, they did 4 years ago go to Tennessee and beat the Titans the year after the Titans had knocked them off when they were the 1 seed. But, you know, I don't know. I'd feel better about the Ravens if they were practicing outside.
All right. I don't think it's necessary. You do. We'll see if that's at all the case, particularly early in the game, because we both think the team that gets off to the better start obviously has a command in this game. Which team has the ability to play from behind if that's what the game warrants?
Lamar's never proven he can win this game on the road. If they fall behind also. I mean, he hasn't.
I'm leaning Ravens. I'm not ready to make any predictions, but I'm leaning Lamar in the battle of the two MVP candidates, Miller and Moulton. The Diamond District bonus hour is next.
Miller and Moulton would like to thank the sponsors that, quite frankly, saved the show in 2024. Whether it was Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Molly Maid, Cigar Bar, Sleep Treatment Direct, the Diamond District, and even the Cape Coral Police Department, thank you. We're hopeful of a great 2025, still needing sponsors, so reach out to Miller and Moulton via X at that Mark Miller or the David Moulton, or text us at 21,000. But Miller and Moulton says thank you to our sponsors and to you, our loyal listeners.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
The world-famous cigar bar started as a neighborhood place in downtown Fort Myers, and now it's a brand, a destination, with 4 locations. The original place, Henry Street, Fort Myers, Gulf Coast Town Center, on Southeast 47th Terrace off the Cape Coral Parkway, and the Lounge on West 1st Street in Fort Myers. A place to go, whether you just need a relaxing drink and a smoke after a tough day at work, or a place to go celebrate. From relaxation to celebration, the world-famous cigar bar.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
This is Miller and Moulton.
But Irish football, the NFL would want the Cowboys to win every year.
Last segment, Cecil popped across the glass. He's waving. I want to just look at him and go, give me money. That's all I really want out of you.
Well, yeah. I was talking to him about that last week. What the hell's he doing in the building?
I don't know. Seeing somebody about advertising. I have no idea. Jeff Edwards finally retired from here.
And I think Cecil, supposedly Edwards was handing some of his stuff to Cecil.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It's time for the Diamond District bonus hour, fourth and final hour of Miller and Moulton in the 239 and the 904. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Our Swamp Buggy races poll question. The races are not this weekend, but next. The race is on Sunday the 26th, the parade on the 25th. Go to swampbuggy.com. Get all the info, get your tickets. It is a very good time. By the way, you can go to the races and still be home for the conference championship games. Just saying. Our poll question, since the Bills-Ravens is a toss-up, the other three games have a clear favorite and a clear underdog. Which underdog has the best shot at an upset? Texans, Commanders, or Rams? At last check, Rams winning. They are the smallest dog, even though it's around 6 points.
Yeah, they are getting 63% of the vote.
Oh, okay.
Our audience is saying that's the only chance we have for a game, basically, that's not Ravens-Bills, is Rams-Eagles. Saturday, the 1 seeds play.
In theory, the 1 seeds should. I mean, the Chiefs should take care of the Texans. The Lions should take care of the Commanders.
You give the Commanders or the Texans a better shot?
The Commanders.
Because of the quarterback.
And also because of the controlled environment. I mean, you know, Houston's a dome team going outdoors, although they could get a decent weather day. Sunday's supposed to be the very cold day in Kansas City. Now, apparently, once it starts getting colder on Saturday, it's just going to get colder and stay cold. I think the high Sunday's 14 with a low of 2. But I think when we kick off at 3:30 Central, Mark, it's going to be around 30, high 20s.
Downright balmy.
Well, listen, you know, ask the
Compared to
Dolphins.
last year's Chiefs-Dolphins game, yeah.
And so to me, unless it's windy, the Texans will get a decent weather day for January 18th in Kansas City. But, to me, if they're going to win this game, Joe Mixon's got to have 125 yards rushing minimum.
And I don't think it can be the way it was against the Chargers, where he had 15 yards or something like that in the first half and 91 in the second. I think they've got to get Mixon established from the get-go, David. And that's not an easy thing to do against Kansas City.
No, and this is where not having their top 2 wide receivers, not being as explosive, to me, to have any chance, they've got to control the game, keep it low scoring. I don't know if Houston can get to 20 in this game. I really don't. I mean, remember, this is totally different. Forget the regular season. Forget last week's game, even. I mean, come on. We know this is the Chiefs at Arrowhead, Spags and his defense.
David, Nico Collins had a monster game last week. Nobody else caught a whole hell of a lot of balls for any yardage. If I'm Kansas City, I'm eliminating Nico Collins. He had over 120 yards receiving. He was their offense last week in the first half and a little bit in the second. Then Mixon got it going in the second half.
Well, and Spags will do that. He will.
I know.
Spags will make you, like Belichick used to. Spags will make you beat him left-handed. And if you start beating him, by the way, he'll make changes on the fly. He changed defenses in the second quarter of the Super Bowl because Purdy was tearing him up in a zone. Tearing him up. And he said, yeah, this ain't working. We need to play these guys man, and we got to get after him.
So I don't see Houston having the ability to score a lot of points on this team at all. Mixon's going to have to be not just huge running the ball. I think they're going to have to throw it to him a few more times. I think they've got to figure out a way to keep Kansas City off balance, and I think you can do that with perhaps Mixon catching the ball a little bit more. I know that's not their normal MO, but without the two receivers, they got to figure out a way to get explosive plays. And I think outside of Collins, Mixon has to be that guy.
Texans had playoff experience last year. They were quasi-competitive in the first half against Baltimore. But the Ravens just wore them out in the second half. There were no competition in the second half of that divisional game last year. Mark, to me, the best chance Houston has, Chiefs haven't played a meaningful game in 24 days. Last time these guys suited up and played something worth a damn, Christmas Day. Think about that. December 25th, and the next time they're lining up and playing something that's worth a damn is January 18th. That ain't a bye. That's a vacation. And so
But
to me,
as
Mark,
we pointed out, nobody better than Andy Reid with time off.
Okay. He's never had this much time off.
No.
Okay. And I'm just saying, I think it's Houston's best shot. Okay. I mean, say the Chiefs need a third possession to actually start to be in the flow again and the timing to start to come back to them and what have you. If you're Houston, you better take advantage of those first two. We've been talking about if the Bills can get up 10-0 on the Ravens, can the Ravens handle it? Because they panicked against the Chiefs last year. I think Houston's only shot, Mark, is to get an early lead on Kansas City and to unleash their pass rush like they did last week. And I know we got a bunch of people in the Twitch chat room saying, yeah, it won't matter. The Chiefs will hold. I will say the Chiefs were cold for the second most holding penalties in the league.
But you brought it up. What can the Texans do to repeat their defensive performance? I mean, I'm not expecting Mahomes to have a Justin Herbert game, but they made Herbert look bad. Really bad.
Right? And you wonder, I mean, can this Chiefs team be covered? Can their, quote, weapons this year be guarded? Do they have the least number of weapons that they've ever had? Or the fact that they've been slowly adding pieces, does DeAndre Hopkins, does he come back to haunt? But that to me is Houston's shot. They got to have a really good first quarter.
and essentially catch the Chiefs sleepwalking through the first quarter because they've been off so long.
Yeah, or just rusty. Yeah, that's all. Hit a play early. I mean, look, Bo Nix and the Broncos hit a play early last week against the Bills. So, hit a play early, get some points, because we think Houston's going to struggle to make huge plays and get easy points. Well, make one. And get off to that good start. Okay. And then take it from there.
Yeah, just don't see the weapons, and I don't see Spags letting Nico Collins beat them. So I have trouble seeing, as you said, Houston getting up there points-wise. But Kansas City, for a lot of the year, struggled to score as well. They weren't an offensive juggernaut this season. It's been picking up as the season's gone on. But what can you expect from Kansas City? I mean, do you expect much more than 24-27 out of the Chiefs?
Well, there's a part of me, Mark, that thinks if they get to 20, they'll win. I mean, there's a part of me that thinks the only way the Texans can win this game if it stays in the teens. Certainly, if Kansas City puts 24 on the board, I don't expect Houston to win.
So you think Houston's best chance to win is a 2017 type game?
Yeah. And maybe even 1917, 4 field goals. I mean, yeah. I think they're going to struggle to score points. I really do. But maybe Joe Mixon and the boys can run it a little bit, slow the game down. CJ Stroud's now been here before. Okay. Mixon certainly played in these games before, played in the Super Bowl. He's used to playing the Chiefs in the playoffs, by the way. Joe Mixon is. So I'd feel a lot better about Houston, though, if they had Diggs, if they had a receiver.
Yeah, Dell or Diggs for that. I mean, they lost Diggs for a while, and Dell, they were fine with Dell and Collins. Now losing Dell, I'm with you, David. I don't know where the points come from, but it would be I'd love to see CJ Stroud win or lose, have a good game, because he has been kind of knocked for regressing this year. Let's see what he can do in the moment, stepping up for the second time in the postseason, how he plays, because he was really good last week. Would love to see a repeat performance and see what that does for the Houston Texans.
But if I were to tell you that one of the 1 seeds is going to have a hard time Saturday, which one would it be?
It'd be Detroit because of that defense and because of the quarterback they're playing. But they don't have a running game.
Who doesn't?
Washington. They have a quarterback that can run. I don't think Robinson's all that good. So when you have the two-headed monster and you can run it and the quarterback can run, a la Baltimore, it's a lot tougher to stop. Daniels is going to have to play the game of his life for the Commanders to win. The game of his life. Because he's got to get into the 30s, because Detroit will.
Yes, they will. Yes, they will.
Now, you talked about the environment, the indoors. Goff's very good at home. They're getting Montgomery back. Everything seems to be working well for Detroit right now.
I also expect that Detroit will be able to run it more effectively than Tampa did last week. Tampa, I think, had 25 carries for 101 yards. My guess is the first 25 carries for the Lions Saturday night, they'll have 140 plus yards.
If Washington can create long scoring drives on Detroit, though, shorten the game, keep Detroit from running the ball that way, that's their shot as well. Miller and Moulton, it's the Diamond District bonus hour. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day when, all 25 minutes away.
Miller and Moulton would like to thank the sponsors that, quite frankly, saved the show in 2024. Whether it was the Woolmeisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Molly Maid, Cigar Bar, Sleep Treatment Direct, the Diamond District, and even the Cape Coral Police Department, thank you. We're hopeful of a great 2025, still needing sponsors, so reach out to Miller and Moulton via X at that Mark Miller or the David Moulton, or text us at 21,000. But Miller and Moulton says thank you to our sponsors and to you, our loyal listeners. The world famous cigar bar started as a neighborhood place in downtown Fort Myers, and now it's a brand, a destination with 4 locations. The original place, Henry Street, Fort Myers, Gulf Coast Town Center, on Southeast 47th Terrace off the Cape Coral Parkway, and the Lounge on West 1st Street in Fort Myers. A place to go, whether you just need a relaxing drink and a smoke after a tough day at work, or a place to go celebrate. From relaxation to celebration, the world famous cigar bar.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I got something here if you want.
Okay. I had a little, see that I had a little thing too, that Ohio State kid that got kicked off the team for a social media account, basically.
Is that why he was kicked off?
Well, Ohio State's not said.
Right. But he's had it all year.
But from the sounds of it, he didn't go to the Cotton Bowl and posted stuff from the 2023 Cotton Bowl, maybe? I don't know.
The one they lost to Missouri? Remember last segment?
Yeah.
Welcome to the bonus hour, brought to you by Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Go to MillerandMoulton.com and download if you miss any part of the show. Talk with Ryan O'Halloran of the Buffalo News in our 7 a.m. Eastern hour. Roy Cummings, Cordell Woodland, talking Bucs and Ravens in our 8 o'clock Eastern hour. MillerandMoulton.com. Our Swamp Buggy Races poll question of the day. So Rams, Commanders, Texans, which one do you give the best shot at an upset? And nearly 2/3 of you say, oh, the Rams. Okay. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X. Are you following this Ben Johnson, Tom Brady story?
Not closely.
So Brady, in his role as minority owner of the Raiders, and the word was that Mark Davis was kind of on the fence about his coach and general manager, and that Brady kind of pushed him over the edge and said, yeah, let's clean house. And Brady has apparently been wooing Ben Johnson, the offense coordinator of the Lions. Well, Mark, help me out. Who's got the Lions game Saturday night?
Believe that's the Fox game, isn't it?
Tom Brady and Fox.
Right.
So now Brady's not allowed to talk to Ben Johnson as the Fox analyst, correct?
Yeah.
But apparently it's okay for him to talk to Ben Johnson as part owner of the Raiders? Because apparently Brady wants Ben Johnson. It's all over him. Raiders preparing a, quote, massive offer, unquote, for Ben Johnson. Once again, if I'm the other teams, I'm like, I thought we addressed this already. He's not even allowed to talk to him. I mean, maybe on the field before the game, he can talk to him, but I mean, he can't be at a production meeting when we talk to Ben Johnson and ask him about how he's going to attack the Commanders. But it's okay for him to apparently be talking to Ben Johnson all the damn time about becoming the next head coach of the Raiders.
The rules don't seem to apply to one Tom Brady.
Well, I just think it shows the conflict of interest. That's all. You know, the rules that the NFL tried to put on him to be a broadcaster. Well, he can't be as good as Troy, Chris, or Tony under those rules. He can't. He can't. Now, he could be better than he is, but he can't be as good as them. You get stuff in those meetings. And even what? He's getting it secondhand. You got to get it, you got to be accurate. You can't get something secondhand. How did he say it? Does he want this divulged or not? You know that if you're in the room. You don't know that if you're getting Burkhart's notes. But now just this whole, so I can talk to him about becoming my head coach, but I can't talk to him about how to attack the Commanders? I mean, if I'm the other owners, I'm like, wait, isn't he not supposed to be able to talk to him, period? Oh, so it's only the day before the game he can't talk to him? Because he can talk to him on the field before the game, on the day of the game, but he can't be in the production meetings and on the production calls on Saturday when the game is normally on Sunday. Oh, but Tuesday through Friday, he can wear his phone out and him and his agent negotiating a deal. I don't see how this continues. Like, if I'm the NFL, I think I pull Brady aside after the Super Bowl and I go, owner or Fox?
Well, and that's the NFL. The 31 other owners, I would think, would be going ballistic about this.
And I think the Lions are not going to say a word because they know they're probably losing Ben Johnson anyway. It's just a matter of to which team. So the fact that he goes to the Raiders, they'll probably go, good, get him in the AFC. That'd be great. I was worried he might go to the Bears. But there's got to be 2 or 3 other teams who really wanted Ben Johnson, and they're going to feel like, what the hell? How are we competing with Tom Brady? I understand competing with Mark Davis. How are we competing with Tom Brady? I got the memo that said he's not allowed to talk to him. But is that only when he's wearing the Fox hat? Not when he's wearing the Raiders hat? Well, when is that?
I'm with you, David. I don't get it. And you would think at some point an owner or another GM is going to say something.
Well, and think of the team that's going to lose out on Ben Johnson. They are not going to publicly say anything because, Mark, what does every team do? Just like with every draft pick. Oh, we got exactly who we wanted.
Got the guy we wanted, David.
Quote, the board couldn't have fallen our way any more than it did. Well, when you're introducing your new head coach, you're not going to go, well, but we really wanted Ben Johnson, but we'll settle for Charlie. We think he'll be pretty good.
And the Jags have been the team most associated with Ben Johnson prior to this Brady-Johnson love affair that's happening in Las Vegas.
Right. And the Jags, I mean, obviously, they're going to have a new coach. They're not going to say, yeah, he's not really who we wanted, but he's the best we could get. So I find the whole thing fascinating. Like, I don't. Listen, if you're going to let him wear both hats, my feeling is then let him wear both hats.
So you think he should be allowed in the production meetings?
Oh, yes. I think you need it to do your job as best as possible. There are teams who have petitioned the NFL to allow him in the production meeting because they feel that he'll know more about us and he'll do a better job representing what it is we're trying to do if he were to know what it is we're trying to do. I mean, there are 4 teams I know of who have petitioned the NFL to allow him in the production meetings. And the NFL's like, yeah, that's not going to happen.
Well, the good news is he didn't have to be in the production meetings for the Detroit game because he's got a really good idea of what their offense is going to do this week.
Well, maybe. I mean, either that, he's allowed to talk to Ben Johnson about the Raiders job. He's just not allowed to talk to him about how he's going to attack the Commanders. I just, come on.
Wonder how that doesn't come up in the interview.
Right. You start discussing your offensive philosophy that you're going to bring to Las Vegas. Okay. And then you stop and you go, you're going to be able to do any of this against Washington? Oh, yeah, all of it. Okay. Let's go back to talking the Raiders. I mean, come on.
I'm Ben Johnson. I don't care how much I'm being wooed by Tom Brady. I'm taking the Jacksonville job.
Well, I mean, either that, if you're Ben Johnson, aren't you saying, Tom, this is all well and good. Are you my quarterback? Because you're better than what I have right now if I'm coaching Vegas. And you're old. So who are you going to get me?
Which is why the Jags job is as appealing as any job that's out there. And for what it's worth, Miller and Moulton both think the Cowboys job's a little more appealing than a lot of the jobs out there. David would take Chicago before Dallas, but he's a glutton for punishment, and he knows it.
I don't think the Bears are that far away. And I don't mean from going to the Super Bowl, but I'm telling you, and I mean this sincerely, if they hired Pete Carroll, I'll bet you money right now they win 10 or more games next year.
I'll take that bet right now.
Okay.
I'll take that bet right now. That's a hell of a turnaround. Can be done. We've watched a team do it the last couple of years. We watched Houston do it. We've watched Washington do it. So I'm not saying it can't be done, but in that division, that's a tall task.
It is.
Chicago Bears.
And I agree with you that part of the equation, Jacksonville's in the AFC South, Dallas is in the NFC East, although it looks like a two-team division now. But anyway, the whole Ben Johnson Brady thing. And by the way, when you're listening Saturday night, listen to how Brady talks about him.
Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks lie peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. Sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Overlap. Also a hack. Hate the game. About to give it up.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
Miller and Moulton winding down on a Thursday. Pat Kerwin, Bud Elliott on the show tomorrow as we get ready for the divisional round of the NFL playoffs and a preview of the national championship with Bud, all on the show tomorrow. Miss any of the show, millerandmoulton.com or any of the usual places that you get your podcast. We make sure that each hour is up very quickly after that hour ends. So if you miss any of the show, like today that we really got in depth on the Bills and Ravens, plus a little postmortem on the Bucs with Roy Cummings, you can go to millerandmoulton.com to download anything that you missed.
It's that time again, nearing the end, but not quite there yet. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Today was the day when, brought to you by Game Day Men's Health. Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441. That's 239-427-3441 for their Bonita or Naples location, or go online, GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Mention Miller and Moulton to receive 10% off. This is a new one for me. We started in 1917. I did not know this. If you did, you're smarter than I am, which doesn't take much. The Zimmerman telegram is sent from Germany to Mexico, offering a promise of Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico being given to Mexico in return for joining World War I if the U.S. enters on the Allied side. British intelligence intercepts the communication, partially deciphers it by the next day. It's released in March, would shift U.S. public opinion in favor of the war against Germany. Today in 1917. Today in 1919, the 18th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution authorizing the prohibition of alcohol is ratified. Sad day. Sad day. 1936, the first photo finish camera is installed. It was installed at the Hialeah racetrack in Hialeah, Florida. 1960, Gordie Howe with a goal and an apple in his 888th career game, a 3-1 win at home over Chicago, becomes the NHL's all-time leading scorer, passing Maurice Richard. 1966, Chicago is granted an NBA franchise. It would be called the Bulls, the third NBA franchise in the city after the Stags played from 46 to 50 and the Chicago Packers/Zephyrs, which are now the Washington Wizards. 1970, a monumental day in baseball history as Curt Flood files a civil lawsuit challenging baseball's reserve clause. He would be blackballed from the sport, but it would bring free agency. 1973, NBC airs the final showing of the TV series Bonanza. 440 episodes. I believe up until The Simpsons, that was the longest running TV show. 1976, Peter Frampton releases Frampton Comes Alive. If you are of a certain age, that is a big album in your repertoire. 1992, Eric Clapton does his MTV Unplugged. The recording would win 6 Grammys, becoming Clapton's best-selling album and the best-selling live album of all time. Frank Zamboni, Ethel Merman, and Dizzy Dean would have all celebrated birthdays. AJ Foyt is 90. Sade is 66. Come on, who didn't love Smooth Operator in that video? There was something very sexy about that woman back in the day. She's 66. Boxer Roy Jones Jr. is 56. Kate Moss is 51. Albert Pujols is 45. And Joe Flacco is 40 years old today. I wonder if he'll have a job next year.
Time to see life a little bit differently. Here's Mark Miller with the good, the bad, and the ugly. What do you got, Mark?
For the good, we go to Missouri, where I really don't know how many of you will find this good. I mean, it's nice, but what he was doing while winning may upset some of you, because a Missouri man said he was hesitant to pause his video game when a friend called. But he calls him up and he says, "Hey, you got a minute?" And he replies, "I'm in the middle of a video game. I can't pause. What's up?" The friend presses him, says, "You're going to want to get off for this." Said, "Check the winning numbers." 2 men had purchased a Powerball ticket together, and the ticket turned out to be a $50,000 winner. Now, it's not a ton of money. It's 50 grand. We would all take it for a scratcher or a lotto ticket or anything of the like. But the fact that this guy wouldn't get off his video game to check the tickets when the other partner thought he had won. Now, the other side of it, too, is, are you ticked off if you're playing the video game? You're telling someone to check a lottery ticket and it's 50 grand. Don't you think you've won a hell of a lot more than that when someone making you stop what you're doing and check the lotto tickets? For the bad, we go to Michigan, where workers at the Putman Family Medicine Center in Cairo, Michigan, had a deer crash through the window in the middle of the workday. A video from the scene shows the deer unsuccessfully trying to exit through a closed window. The staff were able to usher the deer to an exit, and it ran back off into the wild. Finally, the ugly. We come back to Naples, Florida, where if you were at the racetrack on Tamiami Trail in Naples, you would have saw quite a scene early Tuesday morning. It was around 2 a.m. when Kendrick Brizzard entered the gas station and initially asked 2 employees if, I quote, they needed a man, then proceeded to ask if they wanted another one. When the employees declined, well, Kendrick decided to get naked. That's right. Employees and customers were left in disbelief when Kendrick took off all of his clothes. They called the police. When deputies arrived, Kendrick was sitting outside the gas station next to his neatly folded clothes. According to the report, he was asked about his actions, to which he explained, "I wanted to, quote, have fun and get arrested." I don't know if he had fun, but he was arrested and taken to the Naples jail. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Today, Thursday, January the 16th, brought to you by the Cape Coral Police Department, capecops.com. CapeCops.com, still offering $10,000 to officers, new officers. All information on that and other jobs available at CapeCops.com. Looking ahead to what's going on tonight, we have some system plays in basketball. Big slate of college basketball action close to where I am. FGCU hosting West Georgia at 6:30 tonight if you are so inclined. But the system plays are as follows. Michigan is a 9.5-point favorite. They are the 20th ranked school in the country. They travel to Minnesota to take on the Gophers, a 9.5-point favorite. So it's the Gophers plus 9.5. System play number one. System play number two, Memphis on the road at Temple. Memphis is an 8.5-point favorite as the 18th ranked team in the country. And finally, if you get through all of those, a late night game, Gonzaga, a 9.5-point favorite. The Zags, the 16th ranked team in the country, they travel to Oregon State, where you're getting 9.5 with the Beavers in that one. NHL tonight, pretty full slate. Both the Lightning and Panthers are in action. For you Red Wing fans, a trip across the alley if you're in Southwest Florida, as the Red Wings, after a pretty good stint with their new coach, 6-2 in their last 8, I believe, they take on the Panthers. The Panthers are a huge favorite, minus 240, that game at 7 p.m. The Lightning are at home tonight for Anaheim. They're even a bigger favorite, that one, minus 320 for the Lightning. Devils and Leafs, pretty good game. Another 7 o'clock game tonight. Washington at Ottawa as Ovechkin trying to catch Gretzky. And Edmonton at Colorado. That's always a good game when you have two of the best. When you have McDavid and McKinnon on the ice, that's a 9:30 tilt out west. In the NBA tonight, just 5 games. No Orlando, no Heat. They both played last night. But if you want to see a number to me that will show you how much difference a year makes, the Pistons are a 2.5-point favorite at home against the Pacers. The Pistons, who had that 20-some-odd game losing streak a year ago, setting a record, are above 500 for the first time in, I think, 7 years in January, and they're a 2-point favorite. Game of the night, however, Cavs and OKC. This one in OKC. OKC, a 1.5-point favorite, 7:30 start. That one is on TNT tonight. The double dip on TNT, I believe, is the Rockets in Sacramento. That is correct. Rockets in Sacramento, the late game on TNT tonight. So there's a look at what's going on in and around the sports world as we get ever so close to the divisional round in the NFL playoffs. It is our Swamp Buggy races, or at least part of what our Swamp Buggy races poll question is today. Who has the best chance for an upset this weekend? Right now, the Rams over the Eagles getting 65% of the vote. The Texans over the Chiefs getting the least amount of your upset picks at 15%, and just slightly more of you think the Commanders have the better shot against the Lions, just 20% of the vote looking at that game. Go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X if you care to vote. We did talk a little Tom Brady in the last segment about Brady and Ben Johnson, and I do think it's a story. I don't know personally how the NFL can keep letting Brady double dip. Everybody would love to. Who wouldn't like? I mean, the money he's making on the TV side of things, I know he invested those money in the NFL, but come on, the franchise evaluations, these franchises are going through the roof. Who wouldn't want to be in Brady's position? But how can you let that continue if you're the NFL? Where he can talk to coaches, but he can't talk to coaches in production meetings. It seems that there are almost a different set of rules for Tom Brady than there are for every other ownership group in the National Football League. And you would think 31 owners would have something to say about it. Something that I think needs to be kept in the forefront as we get to, closer and closer to the offseason, and wondering if they're going to force Brady's hand at all on this. A little bit of breaking news towards the end of the show here. And we've talked about this, but it has become official that Live Golf finally has a TV deal. They are going to work with Fox Sports, which will put them back on a main network. They were on the CW, but no one was watching. Now, Fox or FS1 will air over half of the league's events, while select rounds will end up on Fox FS2 or Fox Business Network. I'm guessing that's a lot of the overseas coverage, but this will increase Fox's exposure. I don't know if that gets you to watch. You know, if Golf on Fox didn't do that well before, they did some innovative things with a lot of the mics, and a lot of ideas were stolen by the other golf networks, but it wasn't a success. I don't know if Live Golf will be a success in terms of ratings, as we still don't know where golf is heading into the middle part of this decade. Is a merger coming? The new CEO of Live Golf announced Greg Norman stepping down. Does that help bring the two sides closer together? It would think that it would, because Norman was such an antagonist in this relationship that one would think just him being removed would do better to mend the two leagues, but we shall see. But Live Golf getting their shot on Fox Sports beginning this year, that just coming out a little while ago. A reminder, if you miss any of the program, MillerandMoulton.com. Where else? Terrific little show today that we had. Talked some Bills with Ryan O'Halloran, Buffalo News columnist. He joined us in the 7 o'clock hour. Cordell Woodland talked Ravens on the show, and we finished things up on the Bucs season with Roy Cummings. Tomorrow on the show, Pat Kerwin, as we continue to break down the divisional round, and we'll get knee-deep into all four games with Pat and Bud Elliott to talk the Natty with Ohio State and Notre Dame. Have a great rest of your day. We'll wind it up and do it again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., right here, Miller and Moulton.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
A new year is here, and with it comes new beginnings and new opportunities. At the Diamond District, Jason and Todd are inspired by the possibilities ahead. Whether you're celebrating a new love, renewing a commitment, or making a milestone, make it magical with a diamond from the Diamond District. Jason and Todd look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
This is Miller and Moulton